awful intro. Was trying to do the Jericho thing. I got
break down the wall.
killing me. Welcome to another episode, the best episode that Lou Betcha, I can guarantee, the best episode that Lou Betcha and MMA Rax have ever done. I am your co-host. I am the Paragon of Virtue. I am Lou Betcha, joined by my friend who is slumming for me today after doing Gianni and ESPN to Chronic to this shit. My friend George MMA Rax. What's up, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Lou, and it's certainly not slumming it out. It's like I told you before we started recording. I did a 3-hour show talking to myself on my own channel last night, and I have a lot more fun doing it when I can bounce off of somebody else. So I'm always down to talk fights, and I'm honored you would have me on short notice. So thank you very much. Happy to be here.
I gotta say, I don't go on Twitter as much anymore. I don't really interface as much, but I love the community. But one thing that's always been near and dear to my heart is, as somebody who's been betting sports for 25 years, is I don't like the cons that are out there. I don't like the people that, betting's not about winning money for a lot of people anymore. Betting is about win a bet, sign up for my Discord. It's about business. And one thing I've always respected and liked about you is your point. Here's my info. It's always free. It's let's win. It's pride in the craft, not a con. And I've always respected that about you. And months ago, I even said, I'm like, if you ever want to go on air, like, hey, man, I would love to have you. And then you big timed me by going on Gianni. And
I don't know if you actually invited me on or not, but I would have happily gone on if you would only ask what you did tonight.
Check your DMs.
I could be wrong.
Months ago.
Well, as long as we're holding each other accountable here, I seem to recall that you tweeted out a list of your favorite cappers in the space last night, and there was one name on there was suspiciously absent, and that's really why I came on here tonight, was to confront you about that directly. I was having a great week until I was left off of that list. What the hell, man?
Well, I guess I'm fucked. I can't. There's no response I have to that.
I'm just kidding, man. I haven't been around long enough to jump on that kind of list yet.
Here we go.
And how could I honestly be upset? You said you were going to fluff me in the intro, and you just gave me a very nice and courteous. And listen, I really agree with a lot of your sentiment in terms of, people being in this space for the wrong reasons, and a lot of those people getting clout and attention that frankly they don't deserve. I'm just trying to build the biggest audience that I can for the sake of being able to write and break down fights for as many people as I can in the near future and the far future. And I will never ask for anybody's money in the process of doing that. This is more than a labor of love. It has become a passion, a joy. I have absolutely fallen head over heels for this sport, and I want to expose as many. We already have a lot of hardcore fans that love this sport, but I want to expose as many casual fans to this sport as I possibly can. And the best way to do that is to put out my perspective for free and not charge for subscriptions or anything. I don't judge people that, do charge for their picks or anything, at least most people. But for what I want to do, for my goals, I just want to keep it for the people always. And so to hear somebody appreciate that, like yourself, that's obviously very respected by a lot of big names in this space, it feels good. So thank you for saying that on the way in. I really do appreciate it.
I like that the big names hate me, because I'm not the guy that because the names I respect, I give but I also bet a lot of sports. So I'm like, George, that's really weird. Like, I don't know if you bet any other sports, but the MMA community is so unique in that a lot of people in this space, this is it. They don't bet or even watch other sports. Like, they're not football guys. They're not basketball guys. It's this, dude. Like, if they're going to bet any other things, it's going to be like KSW and like Like,
No,
are you a big sport? I'm going to answer Dixon after you're done, by the way. I will definitely answer this.
Not any other regional promotions. I dipped my toe into PFL and then realized how much of a rigged, corrupt promotion that is, and I said, okay, I don't need to be dealing with this anymore. But in terms of other sports, football was always my first love. That's what I played in high school. I was big. That's and I have another part-time gig elsewhere, actually covering my alma mater's football team. So I'm pretty big into football, and I've been kind of doing a little side project with college football that I haven't really gone public with yet, probably won't for a few years. So I do like football. Kind of dabbled in NBA for a little bit for a while, but never really. I think the reason that people like sticking with MMA so much in the UFC is because it frankly, I think that there's just a greater ROI and greater certainty with the results with this sport. As volatile and crazy as MMA can be, I think that there's more certainty if you're sharp with it than there is with a lot of the other sports. And I think one of the big things that got me interested in it was the idea that it was two things. Number one, you don't have to worry about the frustration of losing your bet because of an injury, because injuries are baked into the cake with this sport. So you can't take a bad beat on an injury, really. And then the other thing is, I think that there's more control in terms of the variables because it's an individual sport as opposed to a team sport, where if you lose one key part of the team, even if it's not necessarily the best player, that can drastically alter the chemistry. And then there should be a correction in terms of what the line actually is that doesn't always take place. So that could be a value opportunity for some people, but it could be a bad beat for a lot of others. So I think it's just there's more certainty in the results with individual sports than team sports. I don't know if you would agree with that perspective, but that's one of the reasons why I think so many people like leaning into MMA more than betting on a lot of other sports.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that are crazy tennis bettors, which I would equate as like it's an individual sport. And like,
Right.
I don't know. Let me address this before we move on. So, everybody that knows me knows I'm a big soccer guy. Did I have both teams to score in the Club World Cup final? So, no, I didn't. I had a bet on PSG and the team total and Kvaratskhelia shots. And small, I had a $50 bet with a boost on Bet Rivers. And but the line was moving against me. And my plan was once the lineups came out, I was going to hit like the bomb because PSG has been making me money. And I was doing lawn work with my dad. My dad's in his 80s and he's like a badass. And it's like, I had like a glass of scotch with him because it's like, good job, son.
Nice.
To the point where I didn't get home in time to refire. I didn't I'm like, I can't. I get home and the game's 10 minutes old and they're losing. I'm like, all right, so maybe I'll look to bet them live. And then Chelsea scored again. I'm like, fuck this, dude. I'm done. I'm like, I'll just take my $50 loss. But I was ready to drop like a goddamn fucking bag like on that team, dude.
Yeah.
Like a bag. PSG's been so good. Like just whatever. It's a powerhouse team. But no, they didn't take a dive. They didn't take a dive more than I think. It's just like they've been crushing people for like a year. They finally had the game where like they got fatigued. They looked very tired out there. But we're not here for that. We're here to break down UFC 318, a card that I at the moment only have two bets, although one is like a lot bigger than I usually go. But we'll cover it as we go.
Okay.
And a couple of your passes we agree with, but we're still going to break it down.
Nice.
So we will start with fight number one. Oh, I should pull up the fucking odds. I should be a professional here and pull up like an odds thing. We got Carlo Giudice against Nicole Cagliari. Giudice now minus 335. Cagliari can be had at plus 275. I think there's 13 fights. So if you start, you get the main
It was
event.
about 13 or 14. Yeah.
So go ahead. Start us off with this one if you like anything.
On Sunday when she was still in the 200 range, I really liked Miss Crispy Carly. I did stay away when she was fighting Eunice Dubin just because it was two very unproven. What up, Brady? Enjoyed your show this week. You guys need to get back to doing the foot ratings though. I miss those. I would have liked to see some foot ratings for these two ladies on your show this week.
I would like to see you and Brady do a show. I think you guys would be very funny together.
You know what? I am going to be at UFC in Chicago for UFC 319, and I know he and Wheezy were planning on rendezvousing. So
there you go.
You know, not to insert myself into that dynamic, but I'd be more than happy to do the opportunity if
I just want you to know that Brady getting crazier on air, I get like 10% credit for his evolution into an insane man. And he would even tell you the same thing, that like Wheezy gets a lot of the credit, but I definitely have done my part to make Brady like an insane man.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. The big names in this space respect Lou Betya. They certainly do.
I prime that fucker.
I'll look for your influence when I listen to Stat Diggers next time and see where the shades of Lou show up when Brady's breaking down fights.
Just watch his individual stuff where he just says he's so dry. He just says this weird shit. So I'm like, there he is. There's the guy. Never said this shit 2 years ago.
Anyway, Carly Judas, I liked her when she was in the 200 range. I wanted to, when I try to get my show out in the middle of the week, just because a lot of this content, the reality of doing it is the shelf life is kind of short. So I try to get all my picks out before I actually post my show on Wednesday. So I posted my first 4 reads on Sunday. But I really wanted to get this one out because I really did think the line was going to get steamed on Crispy Carly, and it really did. I mean, she was like around 250, I think, on Sunday. Now you just said she's out at 335. That makes me a little bit more uncomfortable. But, I mean, this is pretty much standard fair striker versus grappler matchup. But Carly's going to have height and reach advantages, especially a half-foot advantage in reach. That's only going to support the striking advantage that she's going to have. It just really comes down to, is her takedown defense going to hold up? It's at 70%, which is pretty good. But again, that's on a pretty small sample for a woman that I think is only 4-2 overall, just has 6 total career fights. What I will say, and I said this on my show on my channel that I did that posted tonight, I don't know if you recall it, but that fight that she had on Contender Series, I think that is the most underrated Contender Series fight in the show's history. And I thought it was the best.
Top 3.
I thought it was the best women's MMA fight of 2023. I literally stood up and applauded in my apartment in Miami by myself watching that fight when it was over. That's one of the rare situations where, because I know Dana's been very generous with the contracts on recent Contender Series seasons. That's one where you could totally understand both those women getting contracts. So I do think the UFC likes having Carly around. Obviously, she's a New Orleans, or I don't know if she's a New Orleans girl, but she's a Louisiana native, one of the only ones on this card. So she's going to have the crowd in her favor. I think she's at least going to get a 29-28 decision here, if not a 30-27. But you have to imagine the knockout upside is firmly in her favor. It's just a matter of, can she keep this fight on her terms? I'm not convinced that Cagliari has the gas tank to support the grappling heavy style that she would need to kind of finesse a decision here. So I do really like Carly here. 300 just makes me a little bit nervous, but we'll see if there's any more line movement as the event draws near. But if she does dip back into 200 range, I think it's fire away on Carly. I think that she's got this.
Yeah, I still think she's playable even at this number. And I don't make it a habit of laying minus 300 on women's MMA.
Right.
But I look at this from the Cagliari standpoint, and I'm like, well, what's her path here? So I'm with you. I don't think she can grapple for 3 rounds straight. I also am not sure she can get a takedown and just that's the end of the round. I think that Judice is a naturally good athlete. You mentioned her takedown defense. The Karasete fight from Contender Series was one of the more high output. Like you said, it was a great fight. And the reason it was a great fight is it was one of the more insane output fights you're ever going to see. Women or men.
For women's MMA, especially, it was so atypical.
And then Gabby Fernandez is a physical, in-your-face, like a power hitter. And Judice hung in there and took what she had and fended off takedowns. And in the third round, she looked great. So for Cagliari, she'd have to win the first 2 rounds with like very convincing top time and holding Judice down and then kind of survive the third round. And I don't think she has finishing upside here. I think every moment this fight's on the feet, it's Judice. If Judice is fending takedowns off, it's just going to add to it. She's the clear A side in terms of what they want to push because it's the fight that should not be on a pay-per-view. I think we can both agree with that. This should be like, I mean, this is a UFC Parsippany.
If this is the only women's MMA fight on the whole card, which it is, I'll live with it, you know.
But I think Judice will take over late. I think I saw a bet that was like Judice and over 1.5, and it wasn't much better. It was like minus 195 on Rivers. But if you want to get a better price, I think that's probably the way to do it here. I think she's safe as a parlay piece, like even at this price, but small. I just don't like betting these kind of fights, period. I don't mean these kind of fights like women's fights. I mean, she's still 4-2, man.
Low level, inexperienced. Yeah. So,
all right, we'll move on to a fight that I have weird things to say about, and I'm curious what you have to say about this. It's Bruno Ferreira against Jackson McVeigh. This poor bastard had a layup that we all bet on him to fade Dumas. Then he was scheduled against a fat piece of shit. And now they're like, wow, you still want to be in the UFC, man? Like, here you go, dude. Like, so
we gotta cut Ewart some slack, man. That he took that on like days' notice, and I mean, I blame his like agents or his representation more than anything for putting him in that perspective. It's like, yeah, he can make weight, even though he's like 20 pounds over at this point, and it's a couple days out. He's got it. They shouldn't have ever put him in that position. I feel bad that UFC just said we're not even going to give you a chance to take another fight here.
Scott Steiner thinks he's fat, and it upsets him greatly. But Ferreira, massive favorite, 6-1 favorite. The under is 1.5. So I'm going to start here because what I'm going to say isn't going to take too long. I have no bet on this fight, but I want to caution people that are parlaying or betting this under 1.5. And I have something I've talked about on air for years, and that is I do not like betting finish props against people that are undefeated because we don't know how they're going to deal with adversity. In the case of McVeigh, the guy's like, I mean, you go watch all 8 minutes of his fucking career. He hasn't dealt with adversity. I also don't know how good he is at range management, and he's going to have a humongous reach advantage here if he wants to just kind of stay away. We've also seen guys against Ferreira, like we saw Stoltzfus, like do a little cage push, like kill the clock. I feel like under 1.5 at minus 250, like people are going to look at this like, oh, it's a lock, and Ferreira is going to murk him like immediately. But like my fight was, what was it? Evan Elder and I think Preston Parsons were like, Parsons had him in like 13 minutes of chokes, and Elder was like, he's like, I'm good. And I'm like, how did I not win this? And that was like the fight where I'm like, you never know how some of these dudes can respond to adversity. And if McVeigh can take shots with a huge reach advantage and maybe grapples, how does this fight look if it does get out of the first round? It might look weird. So look, I'm going to pick, for the sake of a pick, I'll pick Ferreira. He's the known quantity. But, like, dude, he's had dicey moments against not great opponents recently. And I mean, I'm never comfortable laying this number on him. Like, even in the distance, like, this is a total stay away for me. And, like, I'm not betting McVeigh because I don't know enough about him to spend pennies on him, but like I don't know, man. Just
There,
this fight's not for minus 250 is an under 1.5, and it's not like Derek Lewis. I'm
yeah.
not here for this. What is this a stay away for you, or do you feel strongly one way or
My
the other?
my general policy is I don't bet on fights with UFC debutants. If they haven't at least fought on Contender Series or Road to UFC or something, if they don't have any data available on UFCstats.com, I just stay away by default because you just don't know, especially in a lot of like short notice bookings like this. Uh, a guy that is coming in that doesn't have a lot of his opponent doesn't have a lot of time to game plan for, and there may not be a lot of tape available. You can't form a good game plan, and they can end up having a career performance. I will say Jackson McVeigh already has one of my favorite nicknames, the Moose. I love that. But yeah, I do think if you're itching to bet on this, you probably got to go with the under just by default because both of these guys, I mean, this fight, I've heard the term car wreck invoked a lot this week in terms of how this fight's probably going to play out. But yeah, I mean, I would caution Bruno Ferreira not only for a lot of the performances you mentioned, but also this guy was in a very similar situation when he fought Nursultan Ruzaboyev back before anybody knew anything about who Ruzaboyev was. Ruzaboyev comes out there, catches a kick, drops him, and ends up getting a massive upset in the Apex on his UFC debut. And then his cornerman did something sketchy with him afterwards when they were celebrating on the cage.
With the butt?
Yeah. So Ferreira, I do like him. But yeah, I don't think either of these guys have ever been the distance period. And McVeigh's obviously never even been out of the first round. So very, very volatile fight. Seems like an obvious stay away situation. And you don't have to bet and pick every single fight on the card, period. Anyway, you should allow yourself as a fan to just have fights that you can just sit back and enjoy the spectacle of what's going to happen. These guys are going to come out and they're going to give each other hell. Whether or not that manifests in a finish remains to be seen. But we know Ferreira hits like a truck, and we know McVeigh at least fights with his hair on fire, albeit against low-level competition to the point where he hasn't been out of the first round yet. So just sit back and enjoy this and let whatever be. But yeah, don't put any money on this. Not necessary. I think Ferreira probably wins by first round knockout, though.
There's a fight this reminds me of.
What's that?
And it's going to sound very strange, but it's really how I think of McVeigh right now, and there's an apt comparison. It reminds me of JDM versus Pete Rodriguez.
Oh, gosh.
Well, but what was Rodriguez at the time? He was a regional guy. Every fight was a minute where we didn't have tape on him, and you're like, well, he hits hard. Like, that's what we know. And JDM, at least we had some fight data. But in that one, I'm like, well, JDM's boxing. I mean, in fairness, I didn't look at that at the time and be like, well, JDM's going to be the champ.
Did you bet Pete Rodriguez?
No. I bet the under because okay. I'm like,
I bet Pete Rodriguez.
Well, but you made a bet based on like if he can throw heat, he can get him out of there. Like, yeah. But it's the same kind of situation where you have a guy where like, what do we know about McVeigh? He's just like, most of his fights are 50 seconds and they're up against bums. And that was Pete Rodriguez. It was just, okay, he goes down, he knocks the dude out, and goes to the bar.
It's just,
but it reminds me a lot of that where we have a guy where like, well, what do we know about him? Like, we don't really know shit. But what I do know, the difference here is that McVeigh does have like a lot of physical like advantage. Like, if he can manage his range and like not let Ferreira immediately get inside, it's just interesting. Look, Ferreira's a known quantity. I get it. But like minus 250 for this under is like, come on.
It's expensive. Just as a quick aside,
bananas is what it is.
It's so funny to me that you would bring up that JDM Rodriguez fight because that was like a month before I actually started doing the analysis that I do every week for MMA Rax, even though I didn't go public with it until like May of that year. but I remember wanting to get like an underdog to get a little bit more value on that pay-per-view. And I just was kind of Googling fights and that one came up. And I read an online tip from like some random internet site that I haven't looked at in years at this point. I didn't even know who the author of it was, but I literally just bet Rodriguez as a speculative underdog based on that fight and threw him in a parlay. And of course it goes tits up because of that. And I remember thinking like, God, there's so much bad advice out there in this space that I just like tailed for no reason. I'm like, I almost feel responsible to kind of stick my head into this universe and do what I can to try to give people a more guided perspective so that they don't make a stupid decision like the one I just did and bet Pete Rodriguez against a guy that 3 years later would be the welterweight champion of the UFC.
I honestly like he's gonna think I'm like busting his balls. I wish Dixon would do content. Dixon listens to like all the people in the space, and a lot of times I know he goes in, he knows his reads. He either wants to just hear tidbits or like interact or be fun. Dude, I wrote that tweet yesterday. A lot of these people that are in these chats, they know just as much as the people doing streams. Like they do. So it's like whatever. Before we move on, you mentioned nicknames, and I have to mention a guy that I actually talked to and was trying to interview, only because his nickname was the dumbest fucking thing I ever heard. And you'll remember him, Steven Obi-Wan Shinobi the Pillow Kozlow.
Yeah. I think
I wrote
I
him
think I
and I'm
have
like,
heard that one before.
I wrote him and I'm like, good luck, man. And he's like, yeah, this would be for you needed like a check mark to DM people. He's
Yeah.
like, thanks, man. And I'm like, big fan. I'm like, also, can I ask about your nickname? And he wrote me this paragraph run-on sentence that was like how he liked the game and that he liked Star Wars. And I'm like, okay, so this guy's like, you know, retarded. Like, this is like ridiculous.
It's a punch
then,
drunk nickname.
And I got to tell you, he fought like that nickname explanation.
Yeah.
And he still almost won. And that's when we knew that Cameron Simon maybe was not that great. Okay, well, I'm glad you're going first on this nonsense.
You need
sorry,
to
I'm channeling my Brady now. Oh boy.
Oh,
Ryan Spann 2-1 favorite over Lucas Brzeski. The under 1.5 minus 180.
You need to apologize to Ryan Spann. I've seen the disrespectful things you've been saying about this man, Lou. This is a man with I believe he's got 9 UFC wins. Lucas Brzeski is 1-5 in the UFC, and he was
his one is crazy.
He had
his one win is crazy.
He had a fortuitous push from when he was on the bottom and was able to somehow miraculously reverse position against an out of shape first fight jitters Walter Walker that otherwise got him a win in a fight that he was going to lose. If that doesn't happen, he is 0-6 in the UFC right now. Granted, he should have beaten Martin Buday.
George, line a rematch between Brzeski and Walter Walker right now. Is he minus 1,000?
I don't know about 1,000.
And is it value? And is it value at this point? It's value. It's value.
As somebody that took Walker as an underdog last weekend, I've got nothing but brilliant things to say.
Heel hook master.
Oh, the hat trick. It was magnificent.
I had him too. I didn't have him by sub, but I bet him money line.
Yeah, no, I had the money line too. But I look, Spann notoriously unreliable. I get it. But the guy, for whatever you want to say about him, and you know, there's a couple fighters on this card that the criticism of them is that they're really not taking their career seriously the way that they need to. And that's a big reason I'm fading another guy that we're going to talk about later on further up this card. That being said, the guy that is fighting further up this card is fighting a UFC quality opponent. And I'm not sure that Spann is fighting a UFC quality opponent in this case. And for whatever criticism you want to levy against him in terms of how he looked moving, he certainly didn't have a clean bulk up to heavyweight the way that Vitor Petrino did last week. I took Waldo Cortez Acosta against Spann very confidently, even before we saw Spann on the scale. It didn't look great last time out. But for better or worse, this guy at least has the talent to win in the UFC and has demonstrated that many times over. I'm not convinced that Bresky has that same level of talent. So I do agree with Eric here that before you bet this, you should see how Spann looks on the scale before you think about including him in a parlay piece or anything. But that being said, unless he comes in and like misses the heavyweight limit or something, which I mean isn't gonna, he weighed in like 249 or something, I think the last time he came in. But unless he's grotesquely out of shape, I I think Spann would really, really, really have to have like his most uninspired, cuttable performance ever if he was going to lose this matchup here. I really don't think Bresky is good at all. I give fighters the benefit of the doubt at heavyweight that pretty much all of them can crack. But if I was going to make a short list of guys in this division that I don't think have that one punch lights out power, Bresky would be like one of the top 3 names I would consider for that. I don't think he's going to be able to take advantage of Spann's attrition. I think the knockout upside, because it's a sloppy heavyweight fight, is pretty even here. But submission upside is all the way on Spann. Decision, it could kind of go either way. If Spann gets tired, it probably is going to come down to who wins the second round between these two guys. That being said, Bresky, I thought, should have already been cut after the Nchekwu result. His last, I think, 3 losses have all been by knockout. I think the guy's chin is shot on top of just not really being UFC quality at this point. So I expect Spann to get a first round guillotine here the way that he typically does against this level of competition. I don't know how much longer he's going to stick around the UFC because it doesn't seem like he's taking his career as seriously as he needs to, but he should win this fight, and it would be a cuttable offense, frankly, if he lost. Frankly, even if Brzezinski wins, cut both of these guys.
In old school pro wrestling, Lucas Brzezinski would be already in the ring to my left. Like he's the guy that like Coco Beware would have beaten. Like that the low level dude would have beaten. So I'm just gonna talk about something from a market perspective and not my distaste for like all this bullshit with Ryan Spann. When he fought Bogdan last fight, do you know what his round 1 prop was?
I don't. I did pick Spann to win that fight, though.
It was plus 110.
Okay.
Do you know what his round 1 prop is right now? It's plus 190.
Oh,
now I'm just looking on Rivers, which is usually a little better than like DraftKings. That means that DraftKings would be like plus 170 or whatever.
That's absurd. I would fire
but that's his money line.
I would fire and forget on that.
And all these people that want to talk shit about the Anthony Smith fight, which yes, that was like a weird, terrible fight.
It was a robbery.
But Anthony Smith is 9 million times better than Lucas, like a million, like bajillion times better than Lucas Brzezinski. To your point, I don't know, but like he's not here. But you know who's not in the UFC, George? My guy Parker Porter is not in the UFC. Chase Sherman's not in the UFC. Jake Collier. But these are dudes that like if they want to have heavyweights that are jobbers to like feed to people, wouldn't you rather have a guy like Chase Sherman who's like, fuck it, you pay me the minimum? And Chase Sherman's going to give a better effort than Lucas fucking Brzezinski. Like, what does Brzezinski do well? How the fuck did he beat, like, Walter? He beat Walter Walker because Walter Walker, again, debut jibes, just out of shape. Dude, you reline it, like, holy fuck.
Yeah,
Shady
said, the guy that he is now, Walker, easily wins that fight, I think.
I mean, look, at plus 190, I'm willing to play it, like the round 1. If Spann wins in the first 30 seconds of the second round, he can suck a dick. There's a crazy delta here too, in that Spann round 1 is plus 190, Spann and under 1.5 is plus 123. That's a fairly big difference.
That's
for
crazy
like
to me. Round 1 Span, which is like his most likely outcome, I think, is
it's his
priced
only
that way.
outcome. It's his only outcome.
That's insane. That's fire and forget for me. Like
Because
even
I don't think. By the way, his KO is 160 because I'm not convinced that's his path.
no, because he's a Gilly guy. I mean, I could very easily see a club and sub here just as easily as a knockout, but I think it's difficult to like predict which one it's going to be if it ends in a finish in Span's favor, just because of how shot Bresky's chin is. He could take one bad looping shot from Span, and that could be it. There's no even opportunity for the sub after the club. At the same time, Span loves the guillotine, so
I mean,
it's
it's
kind
a
of tough.
terrible fight either way, where you're like one time dealer. Come on, man. Like this is where you have yet another 20. You're sitting on a queen and a king. The dealer's got a 6. You're like, come on, dude. Just get a 17. Like, I don't need you to bust. Just can you fucking just pull an ace? You're fine. Like, that's what I feel like with this fight. It's like, come on, man. Like, how many fucking 20s do I need to win? Anyway, you're gonna start with this one. Another very trustworthy guy, George. Another trustworthy guy against another fucking bum. Jimmy Crute. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I should have let you introduce these guys, Jimmy Crute and Marcin Prachnio. Forgive me.
Crute minus 300 against this goddamn asshole, Marcin Prachnio. Talk about guys that should be cut. He's another guy that probably should be cut. He should probably be sending William Knight like a part of his checks that he's still employed.
That's top 5 worst fights I've seen in the last like 3-4 years. Was that Prachnio Knight fight? That was so bad.
And I had a substantial bet on William Knight in that fight, but at least I knew 4 minutes in, I'm like, well, that's a loss. Like, yeah. I knew. I'm like,
it was fine. Plus money,
So
it was all right.
So you're gonna start with this one, but I'm gonna let you know that Brady and I literally were on the phone today, texting, and I'm like, about this fight, and me and him had some heated words about this fight.
Oh no, I mean I watched Stat Diggers this week, and I know that they were both very confident in Crute getting the sub here. I honestly, when I look at the variables for this, I get it. I especially get it as somebody that has enthusiastically faded Prachnio multiple times previously, not only in the William Knight fight we just alluded to, but last year I made Devin Clark a parlay leg when he fought Prachnio because, the guy has no ground game. The takedown defense isn't good.
Another dick.
If Devin Clark fights the way that he obviously needs to, and fights to his strengths, he's going to win. He didn't do that. He got lit up and he lost and he subsequently got cut. If you trust Jimmy Crute to fight to his strengths, this is probably an easy win for him. But he didn't do that against Bellato. He let Bellato all the way back into that fight, in a fight that I think I was still kind of surprised he didn't get the nod from the judges, given that he was in Australia. But he still let Bellato back into that fight to the point that it became a draw. The guy already retired once. He's now come back. I worry about just kind of where he's at in terms of how all the way in he is with his career too, after he's already left the sport once and then comes back and gets what should have been a good, like, feel good win for him in front of his local fans, and he flubs that opportunity too. The other factor here that really concerns me is, we just brought up Anthony Smith relative to Ryan Spann. Anthony Smith has a win over Jimmy Crute too. There was a doctor stoppage, and that was the result of Crute getting drop foot from Smith just kicking the hell out of his legs.
He tried that last minute though to finish him. He knew, like, yeah.
But what is Marcin Prachnio? What is the only thing that guy does? What is the only thing that guy did in that William Knight fight that made it as bad of a fight as it was?
Survive.
He is a low leg kick cheeser. He is. And I could just see him kicking the hell out of Crute's legs in this opening 5 minutes and some damage, even if he doesn't end up invoking the drop foot in Crute the way that Smith did. I could still see some damage that ends up compromising Crute for the rest of this fight in a way that if you're holding a 300 ticket on Jimmy Crute, you're like, why did I trust this guy was going to fight to his strengths? And now Pragnio's just in there kicking the hell out of his legs. He's going to land like 60 significant strikes and only 5 of them are going to be punches to the head, and he wins some kind of ridiculous 29-28 decision on low leg kicks alone. This is a stay away for me. I still think Crute, like, if he fights to his strengths in theory, he should get this done, but I don't know if you can trust him to do that, and there's enough red flags here given the context of who he is as a fighter that I'm just not interested in betting this one.
I'm going to give the people a way to bet this fight.
What's that?
George, do you have DraftKings?
I don't.
Okay, for the people that do, or I think Bet365 will do this too. But I know DraftKings does this. Here's the one thing that I think is going to happen in this fight that I think I can rely on. Crute's going to go for a takedown in round 1. And then he's going to get it. What he does with it, I don't give a shit. But if you can same game parlay Crute 1 first round takedown, and then like honestly, just because you have to do 2 bets, just parlay it like over 0.5 minutes just to get it in. That's the only way I'm going to be willing to play this fight. If it's anything like less than if it's minus 250 or less, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because I think the one thing I can rely on here is that Crute's going to go for a takedown.
Early on, I could see it.
Yes. If this thing gets out of the first round, and you told me that Pragnio outvalued them 28-7, okay. It's not unbelievable.
It's gonna be a horror show if that happens.
I think Crute being reliable, because if you look back to Crute's last few fights, even the ones he's lost, he's proactively going for takedowns early. Like, he knows. And he's taken down way better guys than, like, he took down Menafield. And Menafield's a Haas that actually can defend takedowns. Pragnio's getting taken down and owned on the ground by, like, fucking Bukauskas. So, if I can bet Crute to get a takedown in the first round at, like, minus 200 or better with, like, a same game, I'm here for it. That's the only way I would play this fight. I don't trust, like, everything you said, dude. Minus 300, and so Brady, we're like texting and on the phone, and he's like, so Brady got like a good number on him, and I'm like, he's a fucking asshole, and he goes, I know, but like I got a good number on him. I'm like, okay, but like he's a fucking asshole, and he's like, are you gonna bet his ITD? I'm like, no, because he's a fucking asshole. Like I have notes. I take notes during fights. I don't retape. If I've taped somebody and I take really good notes, George.
Yeah.
But
I do the same thing.
But some of my notes will be like, no, or never again. And like Crute's one of those guys where like I go through my notebooks, I just nope, no. And I know. I still have like a really good memory. I'm like, yeah,
I have like a whole row in my Excel sheet I have a whole tab in the sheet for tech analysis, but for the, like, I have a tab in the technical part that's different from the stats that is specifically for bad fight IQ habits. And for what you're describing, I will attribute what I just call the guy being a dumbass. Like, I just have dumbass written next to the label of the fighter. There's a couple dumbasses on this card. Jimmy Crute is one of them.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get off that to at least a fight that I actually have a play on this, but Adam Fugat against Islam Dulatov. Dulatov's a massive favorite. Another Man, what happened in the days of UFC not having all these massive favorites on a pay-per-view, man? Like, he's minus 650. The under 1.5 is minus 205. Do you have anything on this? Do you like
Yeah.
anything here?
Well, I really liked the under on Sunday because it was only like minus 140. And then people kind of woke up and realized how, like, who Dulatov is. And, that got steamed. So last time I looked, it was like minus 195. I don't know what it is now, but
205
it's
205
205.
the under.
Yeah. So it's gotten steamed the last like 3 or so days. I don't like if I said if it got out to be on 200, I'd probably just be steering off of it and it would become a stay away, which unfortunately it seems like that's going to be for me now. But when it was sitting at like minus 140, I was like, oh, I'm totally prepared for that because Adam Fuggett has been knocked out in the first round before, and he got subbed by Mike Malott, the Canadian, within that under 1.5 threshold before too. So Dulatov, I think, has like all but maybe one or two of his wins within 7.5 minutes. For a guy making his debut that is as wide of a favorite as this is, I mean, the money line's basically unplayable. So if you are looking for an angle on this fight and you just want to kind of hedge against something crazy happening, like if Dulatov gets injured or something, which he did, he was supposed to fight Fuggett in February and had to pull out of that fight with an injury. So I would imagine he's healthy enough by now that they've rebooked them for this spot. But if you're taking an under in a fight with a very wide line, you're basically banking on the guy that is favored so enormously by the market to get the finish. And that's what I would expect Duladov to do here. Take Fuggett down, ground and pound him, first round knockout. I feel pretty good about that.
I agree. And one of my bets that I locked in on Rivers was Dulatov and under 1.5 at minus 151. It's now a little higher, not much. I'm giving him a few minutes. Look, I've done well with Fugit. I actually bet him to win in the distance against Kinoshita because I thought Kinoshita was such a bum.
Yeah.
Look, man, Fugit's one of these. He's like a perfect Dana White guy. He's a great regional grinder. If you told me that Fugit's had 10 fights in the UFC and they were all on short notice, I'd believe it.
Yeah.
Like, he's just that kind of guy, but he's just not skilled. He's a punching bag. He's a willing, like, are you a hockey fan at all?
Not really. I did grow up in Chicago with the Blackhawks dynasty, so I got to enjoy that. But in terms of closely following hockey, I'm not really plugged in.
So I live in Philly area.
Okay.
And you have two kinds of fighters. You have a guy like Donald Brashear, who is just a fucking badass maniac that was going to beat the shit out of you. Then you have this guy they had a couple of years ago, Riley Cote, who is a willing participant. Record not good, but willing participant.
Down to scrap. Yeah.
And I feel like Fugit is game and he's a willing participant. And I will say this. Forsberg's not like a fighter, but you know what I mean? Like, you have guys that are like good fighters and you have guys that are like, I don't give a fuck. I will say this. This is one of those fights where if this gets out of the first round and you can get Fugit at like plus money, I think you take him.
Wow.
I think you have to.
Wow.
I think you have to because, well, who do you trust if this fight gets extended? Who's gonna have the willingness to push through in the third round? Like,
I could see it. I mean, listen, I
think he gets annihilated, but I mean, and then George, I got to ask you this: I don't think Dulatov's gonna grapple, but like Fugit's really like not a bad wrestler at all, and he's got sneaky submissions. Like if this thing gets in the grappling realm, I don't think Fuget's like dead. Like you mentioned Malat. Malat is like a murderer. Like Malat has like a death touch, as does
Yeah,
Dulatov. And even that, it took Malat more than one round. Like it's
right.
but Fuga looked all right in that.
No,
And
he
there was
did.
like
And don't get me wrong, like I picked Fugit as an underdog to beat Quinlan, and I thought he took a very interesting game. He
and
threw
Quinlan's
more
a bum.
kicks in that fight.
Quinlan's a bum, dude.
He is, but he was still favored to win that fight, and there were a lot of people that thought he got robbed in that fight. But I thought he took a very unorthodox, interesting game plan you don't see very often in terms of just going out of his way to keep kicking the guy's arms until he just couldn't really throw any punches back at him anymore. It was an interesting performance and one that made me think I hope this guy sticks around and doesn't just get, thrown in against contender series fodder for the rest of it. I think it's interesting. He does have both of his UFC wins are over guys of Asian descent. So maybe they need to be booking him against these road to UFC guys and testing him out against those types, as opposed to setting him up against contender series guys that he's going to be a minus, or that are going to be minus 600 favorites against him. I do think that you bring up an interesting point with it. This fight, like if you're taking the under here, you're still assuming this is going to be a first round finish for Dulatov. But if this does get into the second round, especially if Fuga it just gets like teed off on in the first round but doesn't go away, he could be a very interesting live betting sprinkle. I do acknowledge
Fuget's
that
probably
angle.
like an awesome fighter in a bar. Like somebody fucks with him. Because I feel like in a 30-second fight in a bar, he'd fuck you up. Like bad. Like he'd hit you with an ashtray or a pool cue, and
He'd kick you in the head.
Like you know what he's not doing in a bar fight? He's not process wrestling you.
No.
He's like, oh, you hate my haircut? Like, fuck you.
It's like you spoke to the wrong guy. I'm a willing participant.
So
I like that term.
So I think we both like the under here.
Yeah.
Like
it's too expensive for me now, but earlier in the week, if you got it and you got it at like minus 151, it sounds like that. I think that's a great bet. Kudos to you. I never lock in my bets until after weigh-ins. I'm probably going to end up changing that in the future just because there's so much steam on lines that comes in during fight week now. But I do like having the weigh-ins just as kind of a gut check, just to make sure that guys are coming in and looking healthy.
Can we actually talk about that before we move on to the next fight?
Sure.
And this is not like I'm not going at anybody in the community by saying what I'm saying. Some people like banging openers. Some people like, and I'm like you, as is Big Steve who's in the chat, which we wait until the week. Like I like everyone, like there will be bets that I put in immediately. But I am somebody like you. I like to wait. I feel like we get more information as the week goes on. Like, are you like, have you ever like, do you ever feel the need? Do you get like anxiety over not getting something early?
Look, lately I'll give you a perfect example. When I saw Carly Judice, who we talked about earlier, was minus 250 on Sunday, and I said, I think that's a great number for where she's at. You said you feel comfortable about where her price is at now. I could feel that line was going to get steamed, and I just, based on the way that I'd set parameters for things, I knew that I wasn't going to feel comfortable about picking her at 300. And before the night was over, sure enough, at Bet Online, she had become minus 300. And I just thought, I knew this was going to happen. This bothers me so much. If I was the type of guy that would just jump on the price when I saw it, I could have had it. But I'm going to end up waiting until weigh-ins, and it bit me in the butt. So that, I don't know if I would call it anxiety, but it is something that when I'm actively like plugging in the numbers and figuring out my grades for the fights, and I see that the lines get steamed or whatever, it does bother me, which is why I think in the future, I'm probably going to be somebody that, isn't just going parlay exclusive and moves in on money lines when I recognize the value, just so that I don't get beaten to the punch by the market. Because that happens more often than not nowadays, just because, you were talking about how we get so many guys on these pay-per-views like Dulatov that are out at like minus 600 or whatever. I think just the reality is there's so many more people that bet on this sport than there have been ever before, that it's just a product of the volume of money that has come into the betting markets relative to what it was used to be. It's not the dirty little secret that it used to be anymore. A lot of people recognize there's great money to be made betting on fights like this.
It's funny. So like I already have all my soccer in for Saturday. I'm dealing with slim pickings at this point in the year because like all the big leagues haven't started. So I'm dealing with like Swedish and Norway fucking shit. But like, dude, the algorithm I built, like I'm not joking when I tell you this. I beat the market like 90% of the time. Like my number is good. So I just do it Monday. And like I know I don't need anybody else's advice, but this is also like Swedish bullshit League 2 soccer. We're like, what am I gonna learn during the week that's gonna affect? I'm like, this is what my number says. But with fights, and like especially when we get to the Contender Series, dude, you've seen this. Guy can open at minus 200. He's plus 190 in like an hour. Like it's that crazy. And can we ask Farah's question? Can I answer this before you do? Because I don't think this is an easy answer. I think it's like an 8 to 8.5 in terms of like I'm interested. But in terms of betting, it's like a 2.
That's the rosiest opinion I've heard of this card all week.
I'm excited for a lot. Well, there's a lot of guys I like on this card. Okay. But in terms of betting, I think it's like,
I don't know how you can't be excited for the main event, but honestly, there's only
it jumps at a few points.
There's only one other fight on this card that I'm really, really like invested in terms of interest. All the other ones, it's more of just like I gotta put the reads out there for the sake of the community this week, and I'll find value where I can. But in terms of like my fan interest, there's guys on this card that I do like, but in terms of the compelling matchups, I think that there's really only 2 of them for me. So honestly, this is like by pay-per-view standards, this is if it was a letter grade, it'd be a D teetering on an F.
It's awful for a pay-per-view.
I give it like a 5 or a 6, man.
Yeah.
It's tough. But I don't want to sour your, optimism about this.
Well,
I'm glad that you're looking forward to it.
There's as we get to the main card, there's a lot of dudes that like historically are guys like I just love watching, and like it's that. So it's not, but I even said from a betting perspective, I think this is like a fucking terrible. This is a terrible card, dude. My favorite betting cards are these Apex ones for like the biggest favorites minus 200. Like that's where I thrive as a gambler. It's shit like that. And now here's a fight that I'm gonna let you start because I'm pretty sure your whole thing was stay away.
Yes,
it's Gautier and Valentin. I do have a small bet on this, by the way, but go ahead.
Speaking of fights with steam favorites,
tell the people?
Not really. The only thing I want to say is this. I don't think that you could take anything from Valentin's last performance other than he has proven that against inexperienced, like super hyper athletic guys that aren't very experienced, he can extend fights. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh, that over under 1.5 is near a pick'em, and Gautier has just been nuking almost everybody, being the first guy to finish Jose Medina, he's just going to run through Valentin here too. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that this could be a really interesting fight if this does end up getting extended, and Valentin is a guy that might have the capacity to do that. Let me ask you this. I think the funniest scorecard
I have a bet on it, so I'm curious.
I think the funniest scorecard that I've ever seen objectively is Tony Week scoring Valentin 30-27 over Torres Finney, because you objectively cannot score the second round for Valentin in that fight. But if you wanted,
feel like that was just more of a fuck you than
it
anything
was
else.
out. It was 100% out of spite because Tony Weeks is a boxing judge.
Hold on. Was that the round that he landed one of his 2 significant strikes?
Yes. It was the only round in which Finney outstruck Valentin. Like, objectively, there's no way that you can score that fight 30-27. It has to be at least 29-28 Valentin if you're going to try to do it on an objective level. That is the funniest scorecard I've ever seen because it was so transparent that one of the judges was like, I am so revolted by the way that
Right, it was like, fuck this guy for the way
Yeah.
this fight is. Like, fuck this guy. And Taurus Finney's an asshole, man. Like
how
White
mad do you think
hire
Dana
him.
was watching that?
Dana White literally didn't want to bring him in. He's like, you're boring, and I'm not like, Dana White made him fight 3 times.
Yeah, he said
And
you'll get smoked by UFC middleweights.
But what does he do? This, where Dana White's like, great. Look, do you guys hear me? Like, this is why I did not want to bring this guy in. This is the fucking bullshit.
Hey, man, I took Finney at 280 because I was very confident he was going to control that fight from start to finish. And
well, you were never in doubt.
That is exactly what he did.
But how do you rate Valentin then? Because honestly, George.
Well, that's why part of the reason I'm staying away.
That fight, you can't cap anything with him with that fight. That was
right. Because I compared him to Gautier only in the sense that these guys are both relatively untested hyper athletes. But obviously, Finney is a control wrestler. Even though I think he is a similar power threat, the guy does not have the striking that Gautier has demonstrated. So it's two very stylistically different, just in terms of the physical profile that they show. And Gautier is also like 6'4". He's not like the little 5'8" for middleweight tank that Finney is. But both guys are very standout athletes for the division in very different ways. And Valentin has proven that even against guys that have a pronounced athleticism advantage against him, he can survive. So the question is he going to survive here against Gautier? And I think that there's enough of a capability for him to do that a stay away is merited. And I know there's some people, I don't know. I know you said you were on the phone with Brady earlier today. I know those guys were trying to, on Stat Diggers, were trying to talk themselves into the Valentin submission outcome this week. I don't necessarily think that's out of the question just because Gautier's got an 0-0 submission record, not really tested in that realm. If this fight does somehow end up finding its way to the floor in some kind of weird scramble, or Valentin ends up taking the back and backpacking him without having to go to the floor, what happens if a submission does come into play here? You have to imagine it's going to be for Valentin as opposed to Gautier. So this is a stay away from me, like pretty clearly, but I am curious. You said you have some action on this, so I'm wondering what your angle is.
I have 3 units on this fight. I took the over 1.5 at plus 133.
So you are also optimistic that Valentin is going to be able to survive.
Well, I like Valentin a little more than I think other people do. I feel like his matchmaking, like I think Brady said it best, whoever his agent is an asshole. Like, needs to be fired. But what do you think? Like, if the over 1.5 for me here, it just, to me, the over 1.5 means Gautier doesn't smoke him in the first.
Yes.
And I think that Valentin's striking's okay. I think it's, I mean, dude, Loader just grapple fucked him where he couldn't really like strike. And the Finney fight, was a farce.
He had some early success against Loader, but I think he got reversed. And then the second round was just one way traffic.
But this fight's not going to be those fights. This is going to be on the feet.
Right.
And like Valentin's going to be like very aware of like what the fuck. Like, he's not going to be like, let's get in the pocket and like fucking bang. If anything, Valentin would initiate striking or grappling. And even if he can't take him down, burns time off the clock. I feel like my bet, I'm fading round 1 KO. I'm just not convinced Gauthier is too raw. Valentin's too experienced, and he might grapple. If Valentin submits him in the first round, okay. But I just kind of feel like this is going to be one of these fights where like Valentin cage pushes and just burns the clock and like tries not to die early and extend them. And if he extends them, I think Valentin can win. I may bet Valentin money line like at some point.
Wow.
But I think the over 1.5 is like the way more solid bet at this price.
Okay.
I really do.
What
like,
number did you get? Because I see it's plus 125 now.
Plus 133 on River.
Okay. That's pretty decent.
I mean, look, and also if like he knocks him out like a minute in the second round, like great. But I feel like if it gets to the second round, it's because what did Valentin do? He like got him against the cage. And look, this is not the same play, but I said this. So I don't know if you know this about me because like we're like newer friends. So do you know who my best friend that's a fighter is?
I do not.
So Cody Brundage is like my real friend.
Okay, that's cool.
And everybody fucking hates Cody, and I get it. Everybody fucking hates Cody, but he's like my real friend. Like we talk like all the time.
When I did the MMA odds breaker show with Adam Martin and Marcel Dorf, Marcel is also a big Cody Brundage guy, and he said, "I won't let you come on this show and speak ill of Cody Brundage." So I'm used to showing Cody Brundage respect on these shows.
Cody's like the nicest fucking. But my least favorite person. That's my like. I've challenged Chris Curtis to like a real life fight.
Oh my!
I'll die, but I'll do it. But when Cody fought Mansour Abdul-Alik and everybody's like hammering this under 1.5, and I'm like, dude, Mansour's a slow starter, and Cody's at least like had experience, like he's vet. I'm like, don't bet. I didn't bet the over. I didn't bet Cody. I just watched it and like rooted for him. But I feel like that's one of these things like you're hammering these like juice unders, like, yeah, but what if it doesn't go the way of you're betting a juice under because you think one guy's just gonna murder him?
Yeah.
So when that fight got extended, by the way, Brundage lost that fight based on 20 seconds of the third round. Like, it was an awful fight, but he didn't get killed. And he fought, and I thought he was landing more. I'm not like this. I'm not going to make this like a Cody Love thing.
I think he landed more significant strikes by the end before it got stopped.
He lost the second because he got damaged. He won the first. I thought that was very clear. And then he lost the third because of the flurry. But and everybody's like, oh, here he goes. Fucking asshole bullshit. He didn't bitch out of that fight. He got headbutted and like that led to whatever. He didn't bitch out. Like he lost. No, and I'm like, dude, I'm not.
The problem for him was the stunt Bellato pulled right before that, where everybody was like, oh my God, he did that because Cody Brundage is fighting on the same card and he was inspired by Cody. And then that happens with Cody and everybody's like, oh wow, I can't believe that those two things happened so close together.
I mean, I know, but I'm all right. So anyway, but like my point with this fight is if you're betting unders, then I don't know why you're not betting Gauthier like round one at a better price.
Listen, man, I will almost never knock somebody's angle if they're taking plus money. Plus money is plus money. And I do think Valentin can extend
like
this.
My friend Pepe, who's betting all these decisions this week. And I'm like, you're a madman. Like, I love it. Like, you got to clench your butthole for fucking 17 minutes.
I think we're going to get a nice blend of first round finishes and fights that go the distance this week.
I don't even, dude, I'm so out of practice. I don't have a yam bag shot for this whole card. I'm going to do some work while I let you lead off this next one. Actually, if I have to guess, I already know. Actually,
would it be this next one?
No, it would be it's Costa. It would be Costa.
Sure. Okay. No, you're absolutely right.
Right. Gotta be Costa. I mean, dude, Costa's also the master of like. We're gonna get that fight. I have lots to say about that fight, but
Oh yeah.
but Costa like intentionally eye pokes, like when he's tired, like like he does the intentional eye poke, and like they'll penalize that now. Well, it depends on who the ref is, but I gotta look something up for that fight. Do you know that Wheezy and I have a quantitative stat for yam bags?
I didn't know that. I thought it was just a bit with you, but I can totally believe that.
It's I mean it's a million% a bit. Do you want to know the quantitative stat that we look
for
for?
cost. Oh, no, what is it?
Southpaw versus orthodox.
Yeah.
Because when you get the open stances, no, like when you get open stances and the ball region is available, yeah, and you have kickers.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna look something up. I have something on this fight too. I for some reason I don't remember what you tweeted about this. We got Francisco Prado moving up a weight class against Vertenikov. I'm looking up the line. I know Vertenikov, the money's come in. It's
Prado's
he's still
like minus
125.
145. Yeah.
What do you got on this as I look up my yam bag stuff?
I mean, the most important. So I grade everybody within the same set of variables, and I have about like 3 dozen different variables I look at. But the most important one for me that I weigh more heavily than any other, with the very very rare exception of maybe ring rust, is age. And I've had to kind of adjust the parameters of it a bit, where you don't just blindly take a guy because he's 10 years younger. If you're going to be betting based on an age gap, you want the guy that you're fading based on the being on the wrong end of the age gap to be in their declining years, which Veritenikov, now that he's 35 years old, is right within that threshold.
How old are you, asshole?
I'm 31, so I'm going to be there
Are you
sooner
really?
rather than later. Yeah, I'm
Hey,
going to be
George,
32 in November.
November what?
14th.
Oh, so you're a Scorpio. Fuck
Oh,
you.
don't be one of these astrology people.
Well,
Come on.
well, also
Don't put labels on me.
I'm November 24th. You know how old I'm gonna be? 48.
Okay.
So
No,
fuck you. Fuck you in your youth. You motherfucker.
I'm not that young. But no, I'm talking about age relative to fighter decline is specifically what I'm invoking here. In any event, the other side of that is Prado is at the age of 23 where he can be making very drastic improvements on a fight to fight basis. I did one thing. I thought he was still, I think he was at Goat Shed or one of those. I thought he was at a gym with a lot of those other Argentinian fighters like Ribovic.
He was like the samurai fight party. Like they were all at the same.
Yeah, I thought he was with Ribovic and Ayin Perez. But on ESPN, it says that he's at American Top Team.
No, they were. You're not wrong. They were all at the same fucking place.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I thought it was Goat Shed, which I think is in Miami. But if he went to American Top Team, I feel even better about him in this, especially because Veritenikov, I believe, is out of Kings, which is a very good gym in its own right, at least probably better than Goat Shed. So I can understand people that are taking Veritenikov as the underdog here because he gave a good account of himself, I guess, against Morales. And a lot of people think that he won the Barlow fight. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's also important to note that
it was 20,
Barlow,
he lost 29-28. I think that's clear.
I agree. And Barlow, I think in the same way that he broke his hand in the Quinlan fight, I believe he also broke a bone or something, got hurt during the Veritenikov fight and was still able to win that fight despite getting injured. The Vanderford fight probably explains why he's the underdog here, but Prado is not going to fight this guy the same way that Vanderford did. The thing is, both of these guys I think hit pretty hard, but Veritenikov, if he's going to win here, is probably going to need to have more of like a point fighting, skirting the cage, give this young fighter a veteran lesson type of fight, the same way that Jake Matthews did in Prado's last outing. Prado's fought very Otman Izaitar notwithstanding, this guy's gotten some relatively tough draws. He still Zellhuber's on the main card of this pay-per-view. A lot of people forget Prado won the first round of that fight by just kind of forcing a brawl and not letting the fight be pretty. I don't know if Veretennikov is going to be able to make this a kind of outpointing kickboxing affair the way that he would need to in order to keep Prado from forcing it into a brawl the way that I think Prado is going to bring it here. So I did pick Prado. It's not a super confident grade, but the guy doesn't have a super enormous price tag on him. I'm not going to make him a parlay leg, but I do feel pretty good about him getting it done as a favorite. I think he probably ends up getting like a 29-28 decision, but I also think that he's pretty firmly got the knockout upside just because he's shown much better damage tolerance than Veretennikov, who I think he started his MMA career out 1-3, and one of those losses included a first round knockout all the way back in 2014. So this guy's chin has been had before. It just hasn't been had early in a long time. But Prado is a guy that hits hard enough that he could take advantage of that. I don't really see a submission here. So if you're going to look at it in terms of the different ways that the fight could potentially end, I know Prado's never won a decision yet in his MMA career, but I feel like this is probably going to be the first time it happens. I think he wins the first 10 minutes and then kind of lets his foot off the gas, and he ends up getting a 29-28. But I could see it maybe potentially going to split decision too. I do think it's going to be a close fight.
The price for Prado decision sucks. It's like plus 150, 160.
Oh, what? That is terrible for a guy that's never won going the distance. Jeez.
So I am very happy to hear everything you just said. So it seems like Veretennikov is the Twitter dog of the week. He's a public dog. And, I never get upset if I miss the fade or whatever. I don't think Prado is very good. Let me just say this right now.
I don't think either of these guys are very good right now, frankly.
Veretennikov lost the Barlow fight. Yeah. Clear 29-28. It's really not debatable. And it's 29-28 because Barlow broke his balls or his hand or whatever.
Right.
The Vanderford fight, dude, I've watched Austin Vanderford. It's weird that this is where MMA cappers suck. You can't. This isn't like capping Jim Miller where you're ignoring a fight from 7 years ago. You can't ignore the fight that Veretennikov just had where Vanderford looked minus 2,000. Yeah. Austin fucking Vanderford, a guy the UFC did a favor for, looked. By the way, George, I'm saying he looked minus 2,000. Am I underselling how?
No, Paige Van Zandt's boyfriend dominated that fight.
And now he's the guy people want to bet against. They're like, well, he didn't look good against Malarkey. It's like that was short notice. And in all fairness, Malarkey is like the kind of savvy vet on a debut.
He was 21 years old, I think, when he fought Malarkey. And not only that, it was short notice, flying across the ocean to go to Australia. And then he had to fight Matthews in Australia too. So he's done company favors for them, which is, I think, why he's continued to stick around. And it's also why he fought Otman Izaitar to co-main.
I'm talking to myself and you're helping me. You're talking me into a Prado bet here. I talked to my buddy John. I have this buddy John who's in his late 60s that I go drink with. And John's a tank, dude. He can drink he's like my dad's in his 80s. My dad can drink all day and you'd never know. This guy John's a tank. He's a boxing guy. I brought up this fight with him. This is not a joke. And I said, because John bets, but not really. Once in a blue moon. And I said, this guy has a reach advantage. He's a natural weight class. And you know what he said to me? I explained all of it. He goes, why is he the underdog? You should know that as a gambler. And I'm like, you're right. Why is he the underdog? He doesn't even bet. And he's like, then why is he priced that way? He knows because he's an old dago like I am. That what? But George, ask yourself that. If he has all these advantages, natural weight class, reach advantage, all of it, why is he still the dog?
Because he doesn't have a win in the UFC yet. And I think the bigger concern for me coming out of the Vanderford thing wasn't even that he got dominated by Paige Van Zandt's husband. It was the emotional composure that he had while it was going on, and then what happened after the fight.
Composure.
Yeah. And then what happened after the fight? I mean, he got absolutely roasted for the way that he like reacted in wake of that defeat. I think
and Dana
that,
White blew it off in the press conference. He's like, nah, he was fired up. And even Vanderford blew it off. It's weird. They were like, nah, he's fine. Vanderford post-fight interview was like, nah, it's fine.
okay.
They
well,
did.
yeah, you win with dignity and you lose with grace, you know. He won, so he had something to feel good about, and he gets to go home to Paige Van Zandt. So he's like, what am I getting all upset about with this guy, throwing a fit at the end of this fight where I frankly dominated him.
Hey George.
Yeah.
She's very nice. She's very nice. Last question I have for you before I move on. And maybe, dude, I have completely talked myself into a Prado bet now.
I love it.
Who wins the optics here? Is it not Prado, like, completely?
Yeah, I think so.
Like he's 100% of the optics, especially early.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I think this is one of those fights where you feel pretty good about Prado winning round 1, Veretennikov winning round 3, and it's going to come down to who wins round 2. And because Prado is going to be forcing the brawl and has the better damage tolerance at this stage than Veretennikov does, I would expect Prado to make a better impression with the judges and win the first 10 minutes and get a 29-28 decision.
Hold on. I have to edit this. I'm going to say something, but luckily for you, I have this up. Let me just put this up before I say what I'm about to say. Just get the disclaimer up. If you have an OnlyFans and you don't show your tits, what are we doing? Like, in this day and age, what are we doing?
I don't have one, so I wouldn't know. But I understand what you're saying. You're missing out on that's opportunity cost right there.
I just needed to shield. My lawyers we shielded you from any blowback I get from that. All right, we're having a great time. If you guys are tuning in, and you are, we have live viewers. Thank you, and George, thank you, dude. This is a treat, George. You're coming up to second place all time on my favorite random shows. You can't be number one's going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know number one. You don't interact with him.
No, who is it?
Think. Mike's MMA picks. Do you?
Oh, we follow each other. No, I would regularly tune in for his morning shows, and he's the flyweight whisperer. I'm disappointed that he's gone dark on YouTube, frankly, but he's still around.
He told me he will emerge with me in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think you guys could have an interesting dynamic.
We did. Dude, I used to do a prop show. I think this is before your time. I did props to consider and then maybe bet. And so it was just a couple of props, not the whole card, but fun and interviews.
Yeah.
I did one with John Stargarian, tons of people. John Stargarian, I don't know if you watch Club and Sub, but John, that's one of my favorite shows ever. Because we ended up talking about weird financial we went off on financial stuff. But Mike and I'm I got to ease him in. And it's I interviewed Mr. Rogers, and it was fucking and he's like, well, Lewis, how do you feel? And I'm like, oh my God, he's interviewed. It ended up, it was half an hour before we got to the fights. But the chat was it was amazing. It was instant chemistry. Mike's MMA picks. If you watch this, and he knows, I am one of his biggest fans. and we talk privately, and he is one of my favorite people. But all right, I have a bet on this too, albeit small and albeit biased because of my Dago nature. Spoilers. Marvin Vettori against Brendan Allen. I'll start this because I won't take long, my friend. I bet Vettori, his brother just died. So, the last bet I had like this where I felt strongly was Damon Jackson. Didn't realize he was going to knock out Sabatini in like 10 seconds. And I'm a Sabatini dude. I'm a Philly guy. But the long and short of it is, I feel like this fight should be pick'em. I don't think there's going to be a lot of grappling here. Vittori's got a brick head. I feel like this is a pretty tight striking matchup, and you give me 170. If Allen was plus 175, I'd be betting him. Like, I feel like it's a closer fight than the line. It's a simple click based on how close I think it is, based on the number. What do you have here?
I agree with everything you just said, and Vettori is one of my two underdogs. I'm picking outright to win this week. I don't.
Do you think he has finish upside?
Yeah, I do, frankly, because Allen has been knocked out before. I don't think it's not going to be a submission, which is like the only way that Vettori has gotten finishes in the UFC. But I don't think it's out of the question that he, fighting inspired with a heavy heart, in the same way that I don't think a lot of people thought Damon Jackson was going to knock out Sabatini despite Sabatini's chin. When you're fighting with that kind of motivation, sometimes the MMA gods will bless you with something unexpected. And I could see that for Vettori here. But at the same time, this guy is a decision machine. And more realistically, the thing that I look at with Allen is, if you go back, I mean, it's important to consider that as much as everybody likes to talk about how washed Vettori is, Allen hasn't looked great in his last two performances either. And then you go back and you look at the win streak that he was on. And let me ask you that he won 7 in a row. He could have he was going to lose the Curtis fight if Curtis's hamstring didn't give out at the end of the 5th round. And that's still
I hate Chris Curtis. I hate Chris Curtis, and I thought he lost that fight.
Yeah. You thought Curtis lost that fight?
I hate Chris Curtis, and I never said, by the way, I never said this.
Okay.
I'll delete the video. I never said this.
All right. Fair enough. But let me ask you, on that winning streak, so he fights Sam Alvey, Jacob Malkoun in a fight where I picked Malkoun as the underdog. And
I had Malkoun split decision, and I'm sick to this day over it.
I didn't get to watch the fight because I was at a rooftop party in Chicago. So the only fight I got to see was the main event.
I bet Malkoun split decision, but I tweeted this. I never tweet out bets like this. The Sunday, I tweeted out, I'm betting Malkoun split decision.
Yeah.
And you should. I was on this, and then the whole community is like, I'm like, hey, fuck you. I'm the first.
People love Brendan Allen, man. But
Jocko
yeah.
Stinks. Jocko stinks.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Run through it. Jocko stinks.
Yeah. Jotko, Muniz, Bruno Silva, Paul Craig, Chris Curtis. What was the best striking performance Brendan Allen had against those opponents?
Probably Curtis based on 5 rounds.
Yeah. Even though he was going to lose if his hamstring didn't blow out. I felt like all the success that Allen had in that fight was more about the grappling in the earlier stages than.
Sorry,
I felt like Curtis pieced him up. No, you're fine. It's your show, dude.
But can we not forget that for years, what was the big takeaway that all of us had capping Allen? It's that he was a retard that fought suboptimal. Like, again, when Curtis knocked him out, he should grapple. He doesn't. Malkoun, he should strike. He fights suboptimal at all times.
When he got knocked out by Sean Strickland, granted that was at 170, but
here's my
Sean
question:
Strickland knocking
is
you
he
out.
all of a sudden a fighting genius, or is he still retarded? Like, is he still an idiot that fights he fights suboptimally fight IQ wise, man. Right?
No, I agree. And I think that I would argue that his best striking performance out of all of those names that he faced was probably against Bruno Silva. And we know that Bruno Silva was
who's
basically
cooked.
washed. Exactly. So you're talking about him going up to face Marvin Vettori, who competed in a title fight in the UFC and has, the guy's been regularly in 5-round fights and main events and has fought much more elite competition than what Allen did on that winning streak. I'm not
been good
convinced.
against them and been competitive.
I'm not convinced that Allen has the striking to measure up with Vettori if this fight stays on the feet, and I think it is going to stay on the feet. So
George, can I ask you to bet? Can I ask you to cook a lineup for me? What's Cannonier versus Brendan Allen?
Oh God,
he fucked him up, right?
I would guess he's at least like a 200 favorite.
Like but he's gonna knock him out. It's not even like he's gonna knock him out.
I would think so. Yeah. And that's why I don't think it's out of the question that Vettori gets the rare mythical unicorn Vettori knockout here, especially because he's going to be fighting Inspired. The one thing that concerns me is, and you would know about this even more than a rookie. I'm not a rookie at this stage, but I don't have the wealth of experience doing this that you and so many other guys in this space do.
I'm the worst. Go ahead. I'm happy
the biggest red flag that I've heard in terms of when you can tell an immediate fade on a fighter is when they have tears on the walkout.
No, I don't believe
you don't agree with that?
No, that's fighter to fighter. Some dudes use emotion really well. A guy like Khabib was thought emotion was a problem. Some dudes use emotion really well. It's fighter to fighter, man. This is lazy capping for people to say that.
Well, here's why I bring it up, because we did just see it with Anthony Smith against Dominic Reyes in that fight.
But Anthony Smith is like a crackhead who doesn't need to fight because he's got a job on you, Anthony Smith is a rare fuckhead breed that is so stupid. Look, he probably kicks himself every day saying, I could have been the lightweight. I could have been the champion. I should have just taken the DQ. You don't think he kicks himself in
I think he has his analyst job because he didn't take the DQ there, and he did.
But you know what I mean? He's probably he probably meets fat chicks at the bar. There's not a knock on fat chicks. But he probably meets these chicks and he's like, they're like, were you ever a champion? He's like, I could have been a champion.
Yeah. In the same way Izzy tells people I beat Pereira one time at the bar, he says I could have been champion. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, when Izzy's the man at the bar.
But when I brought this question up when Smith had the tears on the walkout against Dominic Reyes a short while ago, and I was trying to rack my brain. I was like, I can't really think of any other offhand examples. Somebody, I believe it was this guy, shout out Picasso Gaethje, I think is his name on Twitter, told me he brought up Vettori when he had the rematch with Izzy for the title, that Vettori had tears on the walkout, and Vettori got smoked in that fight. So
no, he didn't. Smoked?
That's my recollection. He didn't get smoked in the title fight they had?
Well, he was never hurt. He got, I would say he got outclassed.
Yeah, that's my point, is that it wasn't a super competitive fight.
But he lost to an elite striker, but he never was deterred. He was coming out throwing every round. I think the tears is a weird.
Okay.
I don't think.
No, well, I'm glad to hear
to a better guy. But he just lost to a better guy. I don't think.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. But that's the one thing that would concern me here is I'm very confident in Vettori going in. I just want to see him have that emotional composure and not have that moment of I would love to hear his post-fight interview if he wins. And I'm confident he's going to win. I just hope that he doesn't cry on the walkout.
let me ask you one last question before we move on. If you think this is a close fight that goes to decision, and you have to, right? Who do you trust to win round 3 more? Because I would trust Vettori to win round 3.
Vettori 100%. Allen's got cardio concerns too that Vettori absolutely doesn't have.
So if you trust Vettori to win round 3, and you're giving me plus 180 range, yeah, I like Vettori here.
I love him as an underdog this week.
But here's a fight that I feel like this is the Twitter battle of the week, George.
Yeah.
Kyler Phillips against Lock Dog. I don't have to look at the line. I already know, like, Lock Dog's about minus 150, 160. Start this one off. I don't have a bet on this one, but I have a take.
Well, I put out Kyler Phillips as minus 400 against Rob Font. Then I had to bet him at minus 500 after the weigh-ins, and then he closed at minus 675. And,
Did you bring? So you brought great shame and dishonor to your family, as the Japanese would say.
Well, it's funny you bring up the Japanese, because the week prior to that event, I lost a sweep because I bet Tatsuro Taira against Brandon Royval. And then the following week, where I'm so eager to get it back, I'm about to get another sweep, especially because I have Fluffy to beat Pereira in the main event. But I only, just to secure profit for the evening, I just need Kyler to take care of business as this massive favorite against Font. And he goes out there and he fights a style in the first round that his gas tank does not support, that he should know better than at this point, and then just kind of checks out over the last 10 minutes, and Font ends up getting the 29-28. It was a devastating way to go out for me.
George, ignore the ticker.
No, I appreciate it.
George, ignore it. I'm just, it's legal theme.
I only bring that up to say that in spite of how, like, you would think me coming out of that, I would be like, oh, Kyler Phillips, never again, can never trust him again. But he's the underdog here. And Lock Dog is a guy that, as much as people want to talk up the performances he's had, and the Said Nurmagomedov win is objectively a very good performance, and he got it in a way I think a lot of people didn't really expect, in terms of really leaning on his wrestling. And to get that win over that guy in, I believe it was in Saudi Arabia, nothing short of impressive. Ricky Simone was a guy that a lot of people thought was kind of washed, even going into that fight.
He's still washed, dude.
And he was a massive underdog against Yavid Basharat for a reason, and has kind of salvaged some momentum for him recently. But I think people are more looking more rosily on that win now than perhaps they were in evaluating Oliveira in the immediate aftermath of it.
I'm glad to hear everything you're saying, just so you know.
But the big kicker here is when he fought Bernardo Sopai, everybody gets so enamored with the knock, and it was one of the best knockouts of the year last year.
90% of the people fucking bet Sopai in that fight.
Well, not only that,
90% of the community was on Sopai.
Halfway through the fight, Sopai was a minus 2,800 live favorite.
Dude, I'm in one Discord with Big Steve, and these are like legitimate. Like, I don't talk in this Discord because they know him so much more than me. Like, to where I'm intimidated, I'm like, fuck it. Everybody loves Sopai. Pre-fight, all of it. All of them. I'm glad that's what I wanted to bring up, but go ahead, finish.
A lot of people don't remember that he was that big of a live favorite, and then Oliveira, I think, got out of the back take, and then from there, Sopai kind of gassed because he was fighting on short notice.
He was done.
Yeah. And then it was just one-way traffic for Oliveira. I really liked him when I saw him on Contender Series.
But by the way, that fight was 3 days short notice.
Right, exactly. So if Sopai's got more tuned up cardio and a full camp, how does he really do in that situation? I think it's fair to ask. That being said, Lock Dog is a guy that when I saw him on Contender Series, I was like, I look forward to betting this guy one day. And the opportunity for me, unfortunately, just hasn't happened yet. And it's not going to be here for me either. I think that the market is, very much enamored with Oliveira and very much, upset at Kyler Phillips for what happened here. I think this is a classic case of market recency bias for both of these fighters. And I'm not willing to give up on Kyler Phillips because the guy has had, even though he's had some letdowns, he's had more very impressive performances in the UFC than the letdowns like what we saw against Rob Font. And Rob Font commands more experience given what he's accomplished at this level than what Oliveira has at this stage.
I had a 2-unit bet on Font in that fight. I thought Font being plus 500 was just insanity.
I think it's a fabulous bet, man.
I mean,
you were totally right.
It worked out, but go ahead. Sorry, I want to say what I want to say, but go ahead. I'm sorry to be.
I think Kyler Phillips reminds people why he's I don't know if he's a contender in this division, given how deep it is, and the fact that his gas tank doesn't support really winning fights beyond the first 10 minutes. But I think that he wins the first 10 minutes of this fight pretty convincingly and then does enough to survive Oliveira's pressure to where he gets a 29-28 decision and gets some respect back. So Kyler Phillips is the other underdog I have this week in addition to Marvin Vettori.
Okay, so I'm on the same side.
Nice.
So when I first started doing YouTubes, I think one of the bets that got me respect is, so I had Phillips. He'd never had a sub in the UFC. It was 35-1. I had him round 3 against Rojo, round 3 sub.
Wow.
I also had a parlay for $10. It was him round 3 sub, and it was Casey O'Neill round 2 knockout against Roxy in Roxy's retirement fight. And it was because I was doing these bets. I'm like, you want to win 10 grand? Here's how you do it. And like, and she had Roxy in so much trouble in round 2. I'm like, holy shit. But I had hit the round 3 and like Brady and I were like just new friends. And he's like, you're a psychopath. I love it. I'm like, yeah. But I'm like, Rojo just gets subbed round 3. So here's why I'm on Phillips with you. Like you nailed all of this, but I'm going to insult a lot of the cappers in the space right now. I think that they like to say, well, he gassed against Paiva. Dude, he had Paiva dead, and a lot of refs would have stopped the fight. And the reason he gassed out is because he
chased the finish. Yeah.
This is a convenient thing that cappers can like when a fight ends in decision, I'm like, right, but I cap it as that fight should have been over. Like I have my notes. That fight should have been Phillips round 1 victory. The reason I bet Font against him was purely a line, like Font should not be against, unless Font's facing like a Russian grappler. Font should never be that number. He's always going to be competitive on the feet. Like even against who's the fucking Brazilian?
Matsumoto. Matsumoto?
No, the Brazilian that fought Moreno a million times. Devinson Figueiredo. But even that fight, I'm like, all right, if it's not going to be grappling, like how is Font not live? Like to throw volume.
Yeah. I picked Font to win that one too. I think he was favored to win.
I feel like Kyler had a career worst performance in the Font fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe something was wrong with him. But because of that, I feel like we're getting a completely advantageous line against. Look, I'll be honest. I think Saeed's kind of overrated. And the Simone fight, I don't know what was going on, Ricky. And dude, it's funny is I bet Ricky Simone against Basharat, who I love, dude. Like, because I hate Oren Kalin, the guy that Basharat beat on the Contender Series when he's calling him a terrorist after he missed weight. That was like one of my. Well, I bet Javid round 3 in that. I'm like, he's gonna legit torture him.
Yeah.
Like, So I have an affinity for Javid for that bet, but he should never like Simone. It's weird. Simone's weird, but I feel like we're getting like Kyler should be minus 200 here.
Wow.
He should.
Yeah.
But he has every intangible you'd want as a minus 200. Strength of schedule, the grappling. And every capper in the space is being like, well, he's going to gas that after round one. But really, if you go back in his career, the Paiva fight, I get it. And then the Font fight was weird. Okay, what other fight was he like gassed in round 3?
He didn't fight a game plan in the Font fight that his gas tank could support. I think that if he had just kept it on the feet for the first 10 minutes, I think that he probably could have won that fight, which is what most people were expecting. On the feet.
Let's say Phillips mixes in no takedowns. This is just on the feet.
Yeah.
I still favor Phillips. Like, where you get in
that's what I hope happens here, honestly.
Where I think you get in trouble is people think that Lock Dog's going to have all these optics. But Phillips is like an optics guy too, man. Like, and I don't know, man.
And Oliveira's been finished 3 times before his UFC career started. That attrition's going to come back to bite him eventually.
Before I looked at this line, I thought Phillips would be like a substantial favorite.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on the Phillips side here.
I love it. All 2 for 2 on underdogs tonight. Let's go.
Well, I don't have an underdog here.
I don't either. I want to believe though. I do think the line is extremely wide.
Well, I have a bet for you though.
Okay.
I have an absolute bet for you here.
Let's hear it.
So for the people, we have Michael. For all the people listening on Spotify, we have Zellhuber against Michael Johnson. Zellhuber is a massive favorite. Yeah. So I have an angle on this fight. I haven't bet it because I'm actually looking it up right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. George, do you like plus 850s?
I mean, I think it depends on what the plus 850 represents. But
chat, do you like 850s? Let me know.
Maybe you could talk me into it.
So plus 850 odds is Zellhuber round 2, round 3 submission.
Okay.
And I'm not a big Zellhuber guy. I think I had Rebovix to beat him.
I had Rebovix too.
I'm not like a massive with him. I'm also absolutely not a Michael Johnson guy. How does Michael Johnson lose, George? He gets fucking subbed.
Well, he's gotten knocked out a few times in the twilight of his career, but he has been submitted 9 times.
But do you know why he gets subbed? Because he gets tired.
Yeah.
And Zellhuber has good chokes. Oh, I should have done with every other capper. Sorry, George. We waited till this long. I should have done what every esteemed capper does. I should have let every fight off with he has good jiu-jitsu. If you want to be good at YouTube and get sponsored, George, you just got to say he's got to. You don't have to justify why. Oh, he's got great jiu-jitsu.
Well, you got to say he's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got that, or just say things like he's got that dog in him. You know, just lean on all the classic tropes.
You know, George, I'm not trying to tie you in with like whatever, but what woke me up recently is that I did a show with Brady. I did. It was the day PSG, the soccer, this a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, send me a link, dude. Because Brady's always going to be like, let's go, dude. By the way, you have to, you and Brady need to do a show, and I will facilitate it. It'll help your brand.
I would look forward to that.
But more importantly, you two would just be like great. Like you'd be great. You great personalities. Anyway,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I made a comment on his show, which was ball busting. I ball busted the Lambo guys. I said, well, I'm not gonna sit here and celebrate a plus 275. And it was very clear this was a joke. I'm ball busting. But people got upset that I had the temerity to buff the Lambo guys. And these are my friends. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, and
you have a good relationship with them.
Well, I did. Not anymore.
Okay. Oh, because of this?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And it sucks because I know Narco won't watch, but if his boys, I've publicly and privately praised him for
he's got me blocked, so there's no way that he's gonna watch this. And we could talk about that off air if you want.
And we will. But I had told him, and he's my age, and I said, listen, man, if me making a comment that was very clearly, and Brady even knew it, very clearly a ball, like nothing, like I said, nothing offensive, nothing. I said, if you feel the need to harass me when you know that I'm going through like a mental problem with my brain, and this is when you reach, he goes, yeah, I heard you had a problem. I'm like, yeah, you heard it from me. I said, I screenshot it. I'm like, this is me texting you. Like, I said, come on, man. This is like, don't. But like, these are the people that charge money for their things. And they're the people that are going to be washed out in the next year. And the people like you and Chronic Combat, who are my boys, and Brady, the good ones that don't like fucking scam and don't like, oh, you want the real bets, you gotta go. No, dude. George, you're the new era of like good people, and while I'm alive,
I appreciate you saying that, sir.
Which in all fairness, dude, I don't know how much longer I got, but while I'm alive, and it's another guy, dude. Hey, Aussie did the prop show with me.
Yeah.
Ask Aussie, but you should be friends with him too.
I've seen him.
You know what Aussie's bets are, George. You know what Aussie bets? He's only putting out 35 to 50 to 1 bets. He's like, this guy most significant strikes, that guy, the other guy most takedown. Dude, this guy nails bullshit, weird shit.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, so he'll love your angle on the Zellhuber fight then.
Well, you even said Michael Johnson gets subbed.
Yep.
George, if this fight gets extended and he's shooting, he can't. Didn't Prado get like? Wasn't Zellhuber's last sub on a standing choke?
It was. I think I can't. It was a front choke. It was against Yagos, but it was standing. I don't think it was the product of a takedown. But
he choked somebody out like I have the actual capacity to do at a bar if somebody shot bad on me and was more hammered than me, where I'm like,
yeah.
I could be like, holy fuck, I could actually hit a choke on this guy because he just gave me the neck.
The only thing I'm worried about with your angle is because I could definitely see Zellhuber.
You understand this is a plus 850 and it's small, right?
Right.
You know,
of course. I'm just saying in terms of it actually hitting, I think that reading it as Zellhuber's sub is a great way to approach. The one thing that worries me about round 2, round 3, and it's why I'm staying away from this, because I looked at that over, and again, I know I keep invoking stat diggers at least, but they were enamored with the over 1.5 in this fight, and it's like minus 210, which is expensive. I can't get around on playing that kind of over in a fight that's got a like 13-year age gap with a 39-year-old that's been finished 12 times. Like Johnson could show up to this and Zellhuber could just be too fast for him and get smoked.
And he's not good. And he's also not good.
Well, and the other thing too is, what do you think Johnson's best win condition is? It's probably him getting a finish in the first half of the fight before he gets tired, right?
Oh, really? I was going to say grimy decision. Like like cage grindy, like vet lesson decision. I
No,
think
they'll rob him the way that they robbed him against Malarkey when I bet Johnson as an
I don't know,
underdog.
man. I think vet decision is like vet lesson is not like horrible. But I think I think he's gonna shoot. I look, I think by round 2 when Zellhuber's a good boxer and he's landing at will, that's when I think Johnson shoots, and that's when I think again, for plus 850, this is why I think it.
I could see
But
it happening. I could just see Johnson showing up washed and Zellhuber taking advantage of him earlier than that.
Hey, let me ask you this. Would you rather bet Zellhuber in the distance at minus 127 or small poke on Zellhuber round 2 round? By the way, you know how many round 1 Zellhuber's won? 0.
Not
He's
in the
never won
UFC,
a round
no.
1 in the UFC.
Oh, well, yeah, in the UFC. That's why the over is so juiced. It's because all of his appearances, including the Yagos one where he got the finish, have all gone over. So
And Yagos is a
I
round
get it.
1 merchant too, which is like
Right.
hilarious.
Yeah. So I think that's a great way to play this, the way that you're doing it. I'm just playing devil's advocate, and I'm not a big prop better really at all. But if I was, I think that what you have recognized here is fabulous. If I'm
Well, why
somebody
don't
that
you
likes
bet
betting props.
Can I ask?
So I talked about this on
Chronic.
no, not on Chronic, when I did the gambler's perspective, because Yanni was trying to kind of, poke my brain a little bit about why I would only do parlays. When I ran the numbers when I first started doing this, and I wanted to adapt the habits of like what profitable MMA handicappers were doing and factor that into how I was going to structure my analysis. I pulled all of the numbers for the best fight like cappers off of betmma.tips, put them in a spreadsheet, sorted the data, and started looking for trends. And the thing that I found that was very interesting to me, there were a couple things. The thing that I mentioned on the gambler's perspective, and this is kind of my secret sauce, and I wasn't planning on going public with it, but I already revealed it on gambler's perspective, so it is what it is for profitable handicappers. There's thousands of them listed on BetMMA tips, but there's only about maybe 25% of them that are actually profitable. Among profitable MMA handicappers, the ROI,
a lot of them have multiple accounts that they've cultivated for years. It's fraud shit.
Okay. But even looking at a statistically significant sample like that with over 1,000 profitable bettors, the ROI lifetime for parlays is twice as much as it is for money line straight bets. I couldn't believe that when I saw it, but there it was. And so that is something that I've always kind of leaned on in terms of why I've committed myself to doing a parlay only strategy. I know I'm going to lose more weekends than I win, but on the times where my reads are on point and I'm sharp and I hit everything, I look better than anybody else doing it. The problem is there's, a lot of times where you're going to end up losing razor close things. Like I would have had a great weekend last weekend if Junior Tafa hadn't pulled that stunt against Tuco Tacos, but it,
Just so you know, I wrote 2 comments that YouTube rejected. I said, I'm going to blow up George's World right now. They said, YouTube rejected your comment. This usually means they think it's spam.
yeah,
I had to literally go ahead, but go ahead. I'm about to blow up your world after this comment.
All right. Well, the other thing I noticed when I ran that data that kind of surprised me was that prop betting there are a lot of people that make prop betting work for them long term. It's a great style, and you can mix it in. You recognize numbers like you do. That's great. But what I notice is that a lot of people among the profitable bettors, it was actually their least in terms of ROI, lower than money line straights and parlays than compared to those two. So I just said I'm going to keep it basic, and I want to make, accessible tickets that the whole market can use. I know not everybody has access to books that do same game parlays and stuff. So as nice as some of these tickets may be for some people, not everybody has access to FanDuel or DraftKings. I want to use the most basic, most accessible book worldwide so that anybody can tail. So that's why I've kind of built off of Bet Online and have only used money lines and over-unders because that's all they allow you to parlay. So
George,
that's my perspective on prop betting, but go ahead, blow my world up right now.
Well, is what you do for a living analytical? Do you work on
It was. I'm hoping that it gets back to. At the moment, it's not as much. But I was working in SEO for doing sports betting content
understand
previously.
Okay. That's okay. Here's where I'm going to blow your mind. As somebody who's gambled for 25 years, I feel like this is an important conversation you and I are going to have right now.
Yeah.
Do you think I started with like when I was 22? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to bet this prop. You know why I didn't? This shit didn't exist.
Yeah.
You know who I was betting with at 23? The guy on the corner in Philly.
Right. Yeah.
And then even 10 years after that, we had the Russians that we bet through, like the PPHs that like
nice.
Yeah, but like still limited. So the reason I'm saying I'm going to blow your mind is this. I have two bets I'm going to bring up. Different outcomes, same price.
Mm-hmm.
I had a plus 1,200 round one bet. If my buddy Tommy watches this, he'll know. My real life buddy on Guido Canetti round one against Matinho.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why I bet that? Because that was his money line.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I don't think it was.
Guido Canetti against Matinho, his money line was round one. Like he had, if it got out of the first round, he was dead. He had no cardio. He was 40. That was his money line. I'm saying is I bet the prop because I thought it was the money line.
Okay.
Now I won that one. You know which one I lost, which is the same idea? Vince Morales KO against Jose Martinez.
Yeah.
I said this fight can go two ways. He's going to bonk him or he's going to get his leg kicked for 15 minutes. I lost that one. Same price. But the reason I bet the prop is I felt the prop had more value than the money line.
Okay.
Vince Morales plus 300 versus Vince Morales KO plus 1,200.
Yeah.
There's no world where Vince Morales wins the decision against Jose Martinez. He gets his leg kicked for 15 minutes or he bonks him. There's his only way to. So what I'm telling you is I'm not saying always bet props. But when you think of prop, like we've talked about this tonight, if you think a prop is the only win condition, why wouldn't you bet?
No, that's why I loved what you brought up with Ryan Spann versus Brzezinski earlier.
You
were getting plus money on round one.
He dies.
Right. I very much pick up on what you're saying with that. And I do agree that I think that's a smart way to approach it.
The Zell Huber round 2, round 3 sub is me getting a little cheeky. But I think Zell Huber round 2
it's better than minus 600 money line outright. Certainly.
But if you think he KOs him and you just want to play Zell Huber round 2, round 3, or Zell Huber and over a round, because Zell Huber doesn't win round ones.
Yeah.
And conversely,
but he's fighting a 39-year-old that's been finished 12 times, man. This could be the one, is why I don't have a confident read here.
So, George, conversely, let's look at this one. But conversely, if you like Michael Johnson, don't you think he has to win early?
Yes. That's why I'm staying away from the over.
So,
one of the reasons.
So how about this? Johnson round 1 is 16-1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it hits. But if you think his win condition is early, you're getting a hell of a price.
Yeah, you sprinkle that, and then you sprinkle your 850 Zell Huber sub 2-3, and then you've got all 3 rounds covered. It's an interesting way to play it.
Here's the funniest part about me in the community. A lot of these guys that are elite, and I won't name names, But these guys that think they're
You
elite,
put out a whole list of names earlier on Twitter.
I added you to it.
I
You
saw that.
I added you to
I'm
it.
very grateful. I'm touched.
But a lot of these guys that are elite, they're elite breakdown guys. I don't think they're good at betting because I bet lots of sports. And a lot of people can't see past my lunacy to know that I'm like, because I'm not like, oh yeah, like parlay my, like I'm good. I understand how to bet. I 8 sports I'm good at. Like this is my worst sport somehow. That's what
Really?
TB tells me all the time. He's like, why'd you pick your worst sport to be like a YouTuber? Well, but when I see value, I'm not afraid to be. And if I lose, I'm like, well, this is terrible. But
hey, man, if you can make a case for plus money going in, and you know you're a profitable handicapper for a sport long term, I don't think there's any shame in ever taking a plus money side. That's why even though people accuse me of making an emotional bet with Oliveira against Apuria, I wouldn't let people shame me for it.
You literally went out and said, like, how are you crucified? You were like, this is an emotional bet. I like him. He's a legend. Why would you shouldn't be criticized for that.
No, but all these guys that are champions and everything, they've all got their annoying sides of their fan base, and all the Tapuria truthers were like, "Oh, you don't know what
I'm
you're
one
talking
of them.
about." Yeah,
I think, but I also think that he's going to be in the conversation with Jones and Khabib.
Oh, 100%. I don't see him losing to anybody at lightweight right now.
So I was at the bar the Sunday before. And I'm talking to a dude that I know, not great, but he's a UFC guy and he stopped betting. And he's like, oh, I'm getting killed. And I'm like, he's like, I'll watch your show finally. I'm like, I don't know why you haven't before, but like, but I'm like, you could always just ask me.
Because I like losing my bets. That's why.
I told him take Topuria 1-2 I said for all your money.
I should have just hedged on the under.
But I said this is how much I said take him 1-2. And I said, here's how confident I am. If you bet and show me a ticket, I'll pay your tab the next time I see you. If it wins, you buy me one drink. And he goes, I could run up like $100 tab here. I'm like, that's how confident I am.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since, but when I see him, I'd be like, hey, fuckhead. All right, Dan Ige and the next 3 fights I do have bets on. Dan Ige and Pitbull. Do you have anything on this?
I love Ige here. I mean, I like Ige.
Do you have the KO or not?
I think that he's going to knock him out. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you take away any positives from that performance that Pitbull, which, shout out to Wheezy, who changed Pitbull's name to Patricio Shih Tzu this week. I think that was a very appropriate shift in title for the former Bellator champ. He,
you know what, what's his name? Cody Saft called him Shitbull. He's Shitbull this week.
Oh, that's tough. But it's not unearned because that performance against Yair Rodriguez was not very good. And Ige is a guy I like a lot.
I would call it uninspired.
That's putting it kindly, certainly. Ige is a guy that I've liked in pretty much every matchup he's been in, to be honest. I think I might have picked him to beat Bryce Mitchell. I know that I put him out as like a big underdog to beat Movsar, and obviously that didn't end up happening, but took him as an underdog against Sean Woodson at 314 in his last fight too, and that ended up looking great. I'll be the only thing that worries me a little bit is if this fight does get extended, because Pitbull's a guy that has performed much better in decisions in his career overall than Ige has. At the same time, it's not necessarily a reflection of Ige having poor cardio, because, he took that fight with Lopez, woke up that morning not expecting to fight, got in a fight with a guy that ended up fighting for the title within the next year in that division. And even though they were fighting at like 165 or whatever, and Lopez won the first 10 minutes, but Ige ended up taking the last round from him on a day when he woke up not expecting to fight. So it's not like Ige's got bad cardio or whatever. And the Sean Woodson fight most recently, I mean, the finish manifested in round 3, even though it was a controversial stoppage.
George, I've learned as a capper to remove every Sean Woodson fight from my capping because they're all like anomalies.
Yeah.
They're all weird anomalies.
Yeah. But I mean, Ige is one of the hardest hitters in this division. Pitbull got knocked out in Ryzen 3 fights ago. He just turned 38 years old last week. And this is also going to be one of the rare matchups for Ige where he's not giving up size, where he's actually going to be the bigger, longer fighter. I think this is a really bad matchup for Pitbull, and I think Ige is just going to absolutely nuke him. I don't know if it happens round 1. I think I said on my own show that I'm taking Ige to win by second round knockout. Wouldn't surprise me if he ends up getting a pretty clear-cut decision here, though. Pitbull, it's a shame. He got to the UFC too late. It would have been nice to see him a few years ago, but you know, he's here now. They got to do what they got to do with him. And I think Ige, you know, one of the UFC's big company guys at this stage after what he did for the Lopez fight is I think they gave him this matchup knowing that this is going to give him a nice boost in stock. I think he's playable out to like 300, honestly. So if you're getting the 200 number on him here, which is, I think, around where he's at right now, I think that's a great bet. I'm probably going to lean on him as a parlay leg this week. So Dan Ige round 2 knockout is my read here.
So here's what I'm going to do for my guest. I'm going to throw $50 on Ige round 2 KO.
Okay.
It's $11.50.
Yeah.
So it's $6.25 payout. George, I mean, I'll keep I'm going to give you $300 if it hits.
That's very kind of you. You don't need to do that because I never want to take money from anybody. Somebody would call me a hypocrite if I took your money for that.
Why are you taking my money?
I don't feel like I'm taking your money. I'm saying somebody's going to say, this guy who said I never want tips, I never want to charge.
Am I allowed to break down the fight?
You are.
I think Ige is gonna fuck him up.
Yeah.
And the only question I have was it round 2 or round 3?
Yeah.
So thanks. You told me round 2. That's good enough for me, dude.
Alrighty.
Look, it's crazy too because if he wasn't such a cunt against Yair, this fight probably doesn't happen. But like, if he wasn't such a fucking bitch in that fight, what's Ige? This is even money.
I think Ige
is so. I've never liked Pitbull, even in Bellator.
Let me say, I think if Pitbull was making his debut against Ige as opposed to Yair, if that Yair fight never happened, Pitbull's probably even favored here slightly, I would guess.
And he's getting murked.
Yeah,
like in that debut.
I would
like
agree.
Yair wrestle, but like by the way, this whole like Ige can wrestle or Pitbull can. Nobody's wrestling in this fight. Like
no.
They're not. But like, are you familiar with this term? This is more of a poker term than anything. Bum hunting. Do you know what that means?
You're trying to like sniff out the guys that you know are easy bait.
Well, like if I play poker online and this guy sucks and I'm just wrecking him and then he leaves the table, I'm looking for him. What table did he go to?
You're trying to follow him. Yeah.
I feel like Ige is about to bum hunt this motherfucker right now. And I feel like even if you think Pitbull is prime Pitbull, like the peak of his, like, I still think Ige is. I think prime Pitbull against Ige, I think the line right now is fair. Ige is way better, dude. Like, who does Ige lose to, dude? Guys that like take him down, or he loses to guys that take him down and can top time him, or guys that are the most elite strikers in the division.
Right.
Pitbull is none of these things, dude.
No, not at this stage.
I think I think minus 200 is like hilarious. Like, dude, he should be minus 400 easily.
I'd play him out to 300 even if he gets steamed going into the weekend.
And to your point, I think the KO is like, not only is it like super live, I think it comes early. Like look, I famously like George. I famously like saying I like round 3 or round 2 because it pays more.
Right.
But honestly, after his last performance, you don't think Pitbull's gonna come out and be like aggressive? That's where, dude, Ige is like an insanely good counterpuncher. I don't think he has to land like attritional here.
He's got scary power too. So,
all right, I love that we're on the same side here. I love it.
We've been on the same side, I think, in every fight tonight.
No, we've well, sort of, but like there's fights I'm like I'm not betting it.
Right.
I feel like, so I'm gonna start with this one off, and I'm gonna bring up Clint having. I don't know if you guys know Clint that are watching. You definitely know Clint. Clint has 18 units tied to this fight. George, I have my second biggest bet of my life on this fight.
Yeah.
The biggest bet I ever made was 20 grand on a plus 500 soccer bet. What? Because MGM had plus 500 and every other book had plus 200. You don't watch soccer, do you?
No, I don't. I play a lot of FIFA, but I don't actually watch a lot of real soccer.
It was Netherlands. I ended up winning the bet, and I threw up in the garbage can at the bar when it hit on a 99th minute penalty kick. I threw up.
Oh gosh.
Well, I told the bartender, I'm like, I will, because he knew. I'm like, I'll give you $1,000 and I will pay the tabs of it. And the whole bar knew it was going on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't even watch this. It's a penalty kick. And I threw up the second it went in. The whole bar cheered. I'm like, bleh.
That's tough.
And I'm like, you're welcome, assholes. This is the second biggest bet I've made. And I'm not deterred. And I'm not deterred by Clint having 18 units on this fight on his bad streak. So I have Holland 1-2 at plus 123. I have $12,000 on this bet, dude.
Yeah.
This is like, I looked this fight. I tried to talk myself out of this. There's D-Rod has like the minus 600 for Holland. Do you remember when we had like Romanov at minus 2,000 and Bo Nickel at minus 1,000? I think you could make Holland minus 5,000 here.
Wow.
I honestly see, like, the only way he loses.
That's how we should brand and headline this show, is that Lutorial puts out Holland at -5, lines Holland at -5.
How does he lose? How does Holland lose this fight?
No, he does the classic Kevin Holland thing where he just, sabotages himself.
See, this is the myth, George. What is the classic Holland thing? He talks shit on bottom. It's like the whole, look, the Wonder Boy thing. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Wrestling ain't easy, understands. He knows.
But he had, dude, they had a I know people hate this. He had a gentleman's agreement with Wonder Boy.
Oh, as somebody that had Kevin Holland money line in that fight, that drove me insane.
But he had a gentleman's agreement with him, and he was a man of his word. So take that fight.
I think about that every time I see the tequila commercial that those two are in together, where they're like cage clinching each other and not doing any of the striking that they actually agreed to in their real fight. It makes me feel like that whole matchup was just an elaborate bit.
But Wonder Boy broke his arm, and the whole fight got weird.
I thought Holland broke his hand punching him, like hurting him in the first round, and then the kicks made it worse.
So listen, So take that fight out of capping Holland and take the 185 fights out of Holland. He should be he should be minus $1 million here.
Oh,
Against an aging, slow guy that, what's D-Rod's path? He has no path here, dude.
Some kind of weird decision, you know.
I hate
split.
So look, fun story. My friend Tommy, who's watches these, my real life friend, his son Tommy Jr. My friend's an asshole. His kid's name the same as him. I saw him tonight. Tommy Jr. has two favorite fighters. Beneil Dariush, for reasons I can't explain.
That's quite a pull.
And every time he brings his kid to the bar, it's like a family style. He puts me in the choke. And he's getting, dude, he's like 12, but like he's getting to the point where like his, you know, it's not like, not playing, like his choke's getting like stronger. But he loves Holland. And like, he's like, put me in the choke. And I do the thumbs up. Like he loves the thumbs up, like the, you know, the t-shirt. Yeah. Dude, we're getting to the point where I'm like, dude, your grip's getting like way too, like, I tell Tommy, I'm like, his grip's getting strong enough for I want to reverse him and like fuck your son up. I don't want to feel like that. He goes, no, fuck him up, dude. He's old enough. But loves Holland. They made this fight for Holland.
Oh, 100%.
Fuck him up. I don't love people being like, I was gonna sub him. Don't pick it, dude. You can knock him out, get some. Round 1, round 2, dude. This fight will not go past 10 minutes. It's plus 123.
Not only that,
I have $12,000 on that bet. And
I think you have the right read. I think that in the same way that you think the money line isn't lined correctly, I don't understand how the standard round prop for this matchup is 2.5 rounds. This is a Kevin Holland fight, and it's a fight in which Kevin Holland is minus 600 favorite to win at this point.
Do you think he's like, do you think the line is justified for his skill set and D-Rod's deterioration?
I can understand it. In terms of like the pure variables, I just, there's so many times where I've been bitten by Holland's fight IQ that I can't get around playing him at a number like that.
Who? Against who?
Against like Wonder Boy, like doing the gentleman's agreement thing, not fighting his ideal path to victory.
Other than that, what fights has he been bet? Venom Page was a better version of him.
Yeah.
Name me another guy that he fought suboptimal against and lost.
Well, I mean, you made the point
earlier. Took him down.
You made the point earlier of
they took him down.
I know, but you made the point earlier of like basically disqualifying all of his middleweight performances. I would argue him even entertaining a career up at middleweight when he should be making the most of his advantages at welterweight is enough of a knock on how seriously he was taking his career.
What an asshole. He got paid for 6 fights a year. He got paid $1 million a year because Dana White's like, let's go, dude. Dude, Dana White didn't even want to hire him.
Yeah.
And now he's like his
big mouth. Yeah.
Dude, do you know how much he got paid for that Cosmot fight? Dude, he got paid $500,000.
Yeah, because he saved the card under those extremely weird circumstances.
And dude, 2 minutes. He fought that choke of like crazy trying.
That's one of those fights. I took the over in that fight, and that was one of those fights where right as it's about to tip off, you could just tell like this was a bad bet.
I'll tell you what. If he would have gotten out of that choke, he fought. He probably fought out of that choke more than most guys would in that division. Most guys are done in 10 seconds. Dude, that was 2 minutes of him scrambling.
He put up more of an effort, I think, than Whitaker did, frankly, even though I think the Whitaker fight might have been a little longer.
I think that was more Khamzat showing he's elite and like never letting him escape than Holland being bad.
I agree with that.
So take that fight. So take that fight out of the capping, dude. You have to.
All right. I'm more talking about just him making the decision to go to middleweight
I'm trying to sell
overall.
you on this. I'm sorry.
You don't have to sell me because I completely agree with your read. I think your bet is going to hit. Most of the time when Holland's fights are lined, it's 1.5 rounds. And for some reason, because I don't know, people think that D-Rod is durable because Holland went to the final 2.5 minutes of his fight with Ponzinibbio, a fight I attended at 287. I I don't get why the over under is lined at 2.5 here. So
It's weird.
the
It's weird. It's weird.
I don't get it at all. 9 of Holland's 12 wins since 2020 have been inside 12.5 minutes. And then the other factor to consider, like you were bringing up with the stage that Rodriguez is at, I want you to think, this is what I did on my show. I'm going to go through Rodriguez's entire UFC career, and you tell me how many elite welterweights he faced in their primes. Tim Means in 2020.
I love the Dirty Bird, by the way, but not elite at that age. But
At 35,
dude, he's my guy. That's my guy.
I know. I like some Tim Means too, but this
And
is
he
a guy.
lost the fight, against whoever when the same card Holland faced Kamzat when they reshuffled it. He lost that fight. You won by decision, but he lost that fight.
Yeah, I think was that Max Griffin.
No,
or was that no? That was someone else.
I don't want to be an asshole, but it was some Asian.
All right, fair enough. Gabe Green just salvaged his career with that performance earlier this year.
The Leech. He lost that fight. He won that fight.
That's right. Yeah.
But also,
you're talking about D-Rod. I thought you were talking about Tim Means beat somebody.
No, D-Rod lost that fight to the Leech, and then he lost to Tim Means.
But Leech is 37 now. He was 34 years old when that fight took place.
And he lost, and I thought he clearly lost that. I didn't have a money on it, but he clearly lost that fight, and they gave him a decision.
And he wasn't even fighting Leech in his prime in that case.
No, I pulled the stats. He beat Morono.
That fight shouldn't have been a split. I was pissed, frankly, that fight went to split decision.
He lost to Gastelum in a fight that I actually thought he won.
A lot of people thought that he did beat Gastelum, but that fight was up at middleweight. It was weird.
He lost to Magny. He beat Leech. He beat Kevin Lee an absolutely.
That was Kevin Lee's first fight after the Oliveira fight, where he claims that's what ruined his career.
Dude, Kevin Lee's been insta-finished in every fight since, and D-Rod couldn't finish Kevin Lee.
My point I'm trying to illustrate here is Rodriguez has been very fortunate in terms of catching a lot of guys at the right time during his UFC run. The one time that he fought a guy comparably near their prime at welterweight with the kind of speed that Holland has in the striking here is when he fought Ian Gary. And Ian Gary absolutely smoked him and knocked him out in the first round.
But I value Ian Gary as a really good. I think Ian Gary's really good.
Oh, I do too. But my point is that's the one guy comparable to what he's going to be facing in terms of the speed and athleticism of Kevin Holland here.
Holland's speed is really good.
Yeah. D-Rod has been facing a lot of slow plotting strikers throughout his UFC run, and when he has to face somebody
Holland and Gary is Holland wants finishes. Yeah. Gary is content. This is not a knock on Ian Gary as a human being. There's no urgency with Ian Gary. He knows he can just not get hit. Holland's I want you to hit me so I can Holland's gonna finish him immediately.
I think it's gonna. I understand why you invested so heavily in round 1, round 2.
But do you know who's fucking with my head here, Clint? It's Clint.
I get it. Clint. I've never seen anybody get reverse swept back-to-back weeks, and I've never interacted with the guy. I don't want to talk down on somebody that I otherwise don't really have beef with.
We're not talking shit. He's a great guy.
No, I'm just stating what happened. I can understand why that, somebody on that kind of run that leverages 18 units into one play would spook you. I totally get it.
Here's my I've known Clint for so George, you got your boost from going on ESPN. Clint, short notice, sure, but I did his show.
Okay.
And that was like one of the things that propelled me in the space is that I got to do work with Clint. I'm friends with Clint. I've talked to him privately about his bet strategy, and I've been like a proponent of like just keeping his head up. I like Clint as a human being. Anything I say right now, he knows. I like the guy. I told him, I'm like, I get that I told him, even if you win this week, even if you win 30 units, here's your problem. And I hope people listen to this, George, because I think as you grow, this is a point that you actually care about. I told Clint, you think you're just like doing this to win money. You have 10,000 followers. You have 1 million. Like Clint's like the biggest YouTube show. He is. I said, whether or not you like it, you have people to listen to you, follow you.
Yep.
And I said, you're setting a bad. I told him, you're setting a bad example. Whether you win or lose this bet with Holland as an anchor.
You sound like a disappointed parent.
I said this is a reckless move. And I said, you're like, well, you can always reload the bankroll. I'm like, no, dude, but you, I said, Clint,
oh God,
I don't think
that's like the most problem gambler thing you could say in response to something like that.
But I told him, I'm like, dude, I talked to him, like we're friends. I'm not talking shit on Clint.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, please, you don't understand. What you do affects a lot of people, and I don't think you understand it.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get right. I'm like, Clint, please, dude, like don't do these.
No, not everybody's in a position to reload their bankroll.
And he said I will share this comment he said to me privately. He said, I got to do what I got to do. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
And I said, I get it. But like, dude, you get paid to do this. And like, I don't. Like, I said, I don't have the following you do.
Yeah.
I'm like, Clint, dude, like I said, I'm like, Clint, if Holland loses, are you next week 36 units? Like, you can't do this. I told him, like, dude, please. I'm like, Clint, just there's people that care about you. Like, you can't do this.
Yeah, that's why I'm 10 units per card, never more, never less. It's always
like I'm not gonna share private correspondence with Brady unless it's like hilarious. But I told Brady, I'm like, he's got 18 units, and Brady's like,
unless you guys are having an argument about Jimmy Crute.
Well, he's wrong. I mean, that's how. But like friendship wise, we're like, dude, like me and him both care about Clint, and I'm like, come on, like, dude. And he goes, I'm just he knows. He's like, dude, I know. Like, this is not okay.
Aussie Fight Fan is giving me shit in the chat. He says, imagine hitting all your bets, but you crap out because you anchored a minus 500. That's literally what happened to me with Kyler Phillips in his last fight.
But he's more. Dude, you guys should be friends. You guys like, but he's
I think he was talking about Clint. He wasn't talking about me. I was just making a self-deprecating
I'm not
joke.
like, dude, I'm not shitting on Clint. But what I'm saying is, if I had, and I'm older, if I had that following, I would actually like make my guys like donate toward charity, and like we would do something well in the world.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I've told Clint that too. I'm like, dude, you could like harness your following to like donate to charity, and he's like, yeah, but like, and I'm like, right, you want to bet on like Justin Jefferson shit? I get it, like, but like, dude, these are like, I don't have that. You have power, like, make it work. Anyway, well, all right, let's move on. We got 2 fights left, and I have no bets left, but I have leans. We got Costa and Kopylov.
You
Costa's
got to
a
put your
dog.
Gambag bet in on this one. You said you were going to do at the top of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's $5 to win 100, but like that's not a real bet. I'll let me go first, so you lead off the main event.
All right.
So I have nothing here, but I favor Kopylov. Like, the reason I don't have a bet is a lot of people that I respect love Costa here at the price, and it's weird to me because he hasn't looked good in 7 years. Like, he doesn't fight with urgency. And I heard a couple of these guys, and this is, again, I hate these cappers that like fit things to their narrative. They're like, well, he looked really competitive against Vettori. Dude, he didn't just miss weight. He told Vettori the day before the fight, got to fight up. And then he missed weight again at 205.
That's
He
your
was
own
30
personal
pounds
problem.
heavier than Vettori. They're like, he was so competitive with Vettori. I'm like, he had every advantage.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me, dude? And I poked Vettori twice. They should have taken a goddamn point. He was done. He was gassed in that fight. And Vettori wasn't throwing heavy volume. Dude, the Luke Rockhold fight. Dude, come on.
Dude, I saw a clip of that on Twitter right before the show started, and I forgot that Rockhold was wearing like a full leg into ankle sleeve going into that fight. Hadn't fought like 3 years.
But like, I got my buddies. I got like Pepe and Dogfather, who I respect, and they're both on Costa, and I'm like,
yeah.
But here's my problem, George. They're capping Costa from 2018.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I like First of all, Kopylov, whether you call it an early finish or not, he knocked out Curtis. And better yet, he gave Chris Curtis another reason to be a bitch, which I love. Like, all of this is just tremendous. And they're like, oh, he was tired. He was taking down Almeida. I thought that showed great fight IQ. He's like,
I did. Nobody was expecting him to fight that well-rounded, and it was very smart.
Like
not only that, he was going to win that fight against Curtis convincingly, regardless of whether or not he got that finish at the end. And I love that he budgeted himself where he kind of let Curtis have the second round and then made sure he had enough left in the tank to win the third round convincingly, even before he got the finish.
And again, this is what cappers do wrong, George. They're like, well, Robertson submitted him. Dude, this is like fucking a million fights ago.
Costa has one submission win in 2016. He hasn't attempted a sub in the UFC.
Like, Kopylov's improved.
Oh, yeah. No question.
Okay. Did he knock out Fremd? And Fremd stinks? Yes. But he knocked him. But he did his job, dude. Like,
he takes care of business against guys that he should finish.
So from here's my only fight from a tactical perspective, George. So it's funny. So what is Kopylov like? Body kicks. Loves body kicks. I have not heard one person tell me that those body kicks won't be there. All I've heard is what Costa likes to do. But what they're telling me Costa likes to do is from, again, the Romero fight. Oh,
yeah.
Dude, Costa hasn't fought optimally in 7 years. And Kopylov, if you don't think he has good cardio, that's one thing. But he fights optimally. And can we really, the Fluffy fight? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
No, Costa's not going to fight Kopylov the way that Fluffy
But Fluffy's an elite guy with an elite skill set. That fight should not count in the capping.
Not for this matchup, no.
Kopylov was gassed in the second round of the Fluffy fight. Of course he was. Everybody's fucking gassed against this guy.
Nobody has anything left when they fight Fluffy.
George, Fluffy versus Costa. Cap it.
Oh God.
Minus 1,200.
Probably.
Like,
I could
stop.
see
Like,
it.
these are weird. But like, people are reaching for like narratives. If this is a fight on the feet, people like Costa get takedowns. Hey, George, let's pretend that Costa doesn't get takedowns here. Because when's the last time he went for a takedown? Right.
I
It's
wouldn't.
2018.
I couldn't tell you. Yeah.
So let's pretend this is on the feet with a younger guy. I know Costa's like the same age, but really, you have a guy who's like elite kickboxer, not worried about wrestling. I think Koplov's fine here, dude. I think Koplov's decision would probably be the play.
Yeah.
But Koplov and over one, because Koplov doesn't get round ones. Let me see what Koplov and over 1.5 is. That seems like the play to me. I don't have a bet yet. What do you think, dude?
I think that it's, a lot of what you just brought up in terms of how people are talking themselves into betting on Costa here. I feel like there was a very similar conversation when Sean Strickland fought him in his last appearance, because Strickland was basically the same price in that fight that Kopylov is in this one. And I'm not saying that Kopylov is, the caliber of Sean. He's certainly not as battle tested against the elite of the elite as Sean Strickland is.
I put this up for you. This is a terrible line. Just letting you know.
Okay.
Terrible.
That being said, I think that there are a lot of people that are talking themselves into Costa based on what he was before the title fight with Izzy, where I think that he was an undefeated fighter going into that fight. And I think the way that he lost really kind of bruised his ego a bit, to where, he just hasn't been taking it. When I talked about all the way back in the Span fight, we're going to talk about a couple people on this card that haven't taken their career as seriously as they need to. This is a guy in Costa who, one of my favorite characters in the entire sport, but has completely pissed away his prime as a fighter in the UFC. And now he's suddenly 34 years old, 1-4 in like the last 5 years, and the only guy he's beaten is a totally shot Luke Rockhold that came off the shelf after like 3.5 years. And even Rockhold had moments of success against Costa in that fight. Kopylov is my most confident pick of the entire card. I think that he absolutely just does whatever he wants to, basically. I just don't expect Costa to be technical enough to. I think that he's gonna, if he wins this fight, he's gonna need to do what he did against Whitaker twice, which is just have one overwhelmingly massive moment to put a stamp on a round and he needs to do that in 2 different rounds. And that's how I think he beats Kopylov. But I don't see that happening.
I'm so glad to hear you, dude. You understand, like Pepe, Pepe?
Yeah, Pepe and I like each other. We haven't done a show together or anything, but we followed each other for a while.
I'll get you doing a show with Pepe. Pepe is kind of out of the game. I'll get you doing a show with Pepe.
I know he had that whole fight numbers situation, so I know that he's kind of, nomading it right now.
I got you with that, dude.
All right, cool.
Pepe is the man, and he's a friend, and also he's won all this money on me from soccer bets, so I'm gonna guilt him, and I'll be like, dude. But
I have a good relationship with him for, just 2 guys that follow each other on Twitter.
No, I know, but like Pepe is I'll get a show at you, dude.
All right.
Cool. Dude, this isn't for me. This whole show's for you. I'm just happy to do it, but like,
well, I appreciate it. Thank
you. If you gain, I mean, fucking Shady followed you. That's one follower.
I've had a couple people that have followed me,
but all these fucking dudes are on Costa, and I'm like, that I respect, like Pepe and like Dogfather, and I'm like, but are you capping him from like years ago? Like I'd rather not bet this fight, but like, dude, I kind of think Kopylov just dominates him, man.
Yeah, most confident pick of the card for me, bar none. I
I
think
love to hear it, dude.
I
We got
hope
the
I
main.
hope he stays. I hope more money comes in on Costa so we get an even better number. But I'd play Kopylov out even further than this.
My guy Mark. So Mark, by the way, Mark, I love. Hey Mark, you know what your problem is? You keep following Wiz for soccer bets. Wiz is my guy. Wiz doesn't know shit about soccer compared to me. Come on, dude. I'm the soccer goat. Busting balls, Wiz. It's a busting balls thing. I want to get fucking blown up. We got the main event. If you haven't followed George, go follow him. And he just proved he's like my speed humor wise. I've barely like talked about whatever weird shit. George doing awesome. Jesus Christ, we're going on 3 hours. I don't even notice. Great.
Yeah, it's about how long my show was that I did last night.
But I didn't even notice, dude. Like, dude, when Monk and I did shows, it was an hour and 15 minutes. But I'm telling like Norm Macdonald jokes and shit.
I gotta go to work
event,
in the morning too.
Here, I'll start this because it's gonna take me 30 seconds, and you can lead up. I'm not betting this fight. I refuse to bet this fight. I'm gonna watch as a fan. I don't care about the previous 2 fights. I don't like the whole the retire. I weirdly feel the retirement angle is not a thing here. This is a fight where like if you force me to bet it, I'm taking the plus money, but I don't have a strong lean. George, take us home.
I do agree that if you believe in the concept of there are exceptions to every rule, as consistently valid as it is to play against the retirement angle against fighters that have already kind of indicated they are mentally 1 foot out the door. If there was anybody you were going to make an exception to for that, it would be Dustin Poirier.
He's not treating this like Nate Maness being like, I'm done. Right? Like there's levels to like this retirement shit.
Not like Lauren Murphy did last week.
Who looked great.
She did, but she also hadn't fought for 2.5 years and was really just going out there for a point of pride. She looked
great for a 42-year-old covering a +6, right?
She looked good in the 3rd round, but by then she needed a finish, and she had already dropped the first 10 minutes.
She looked great for a 42-year-old at +600.
I would agree with that. That being said, it's still a very different situation for her relative to Poirier going into this. Poirier is going out on his own terms, win or lose, and there's something to be said for that. It's a good moment of self-awareness. That being said, I think that there's a similar there's 2 things. MMA math, obviously you don't really want to invoke that a lot, but I think comparing the 2 performances that these guys had against Justin Gaethje is something that should be very strongly considered here, particularly because so many of the people that are fading Holloway are doing it on the basis that, oh, this guy had one of the most legendary chins of all time, and then suddenly Topuria knocks him out bad. And because Topuria knocked him out bad, suddenly you have to question about, now that he's been cracked, is the chin just going to totally bottom out through the floor? Compared to, there's no way that you're going to convince me that the head kick knockout Poirier had wasn't at least just as bad as the Topuria one.
George, can I please interrupt?
Sure.
Because this has been a theme for the night, but I want you to tell the people, because I feel like we agree on this one element that I think I can't overstress. There's fights you have to disqualify when you cap.
Mm-hmm.
I've tooled on other cappers. Oh, well, how do you, but just continue. But like, you're even saying it like you have to disqualify this fight when you cap this fight. Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, a good example of that, you should not use the first Poirier Holloway fight in terms of evaluating this one. Right. Exactly. That you shouldn't even be looking at that. I don't know how much stock you should put in their second fight, frankly, because that was prime Poirier against Holloway still entering his prime, not necessarily prepared to fight at lightweight.
It was Holloway had 10 days notice to fight up.
Exactly.
No, I remember. I don't need to look it up. I remember he's like, "I'll do it." He
Right.
had 10 days.
Yeah. No, I think I think that is a more significant consideration than how the fight actually played out in terms of how you should be evaluating this matchup. But the bigger thing that I'm taking into account here, because I do think that the knockout that Gaethje had on Poirier was at least as bad as, whatever you want to say to Poirier, the impact that he had on Holloway. That knockout still happened in round 3. If it had been a round 1 knockout like the one that Charles just had, I would be a lot more concerned about Holloway's damage tolerance here. But this is a guy that has been historically durable, particularly for the amount of strikes that he's absorbed.
George, I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
I think Topuria is going to go down as the greatest to ever do it, or at least in the conversation with Jones and Khabib.
I would agree with that.
I think that loss will end up being like nobody cares.
No, I think it'll age very well for him. And the other guy,
I think Topuria is just the most elite. He is. We're never like. Remember when Islam beat Oliveira in round 1 or like whatever? And he was like minus 300. I'm like, we're never getting a price on him again like this. We're never getting a good price on Ilya again. Ilya beating Max. Ilya's just. He's undeniable, dude.
That's why I'm glad I got him at plus money against Volkanovski when he won the title.
You can't like cap that fight for this. Ilya is just an undeniable dude.
But another thing that I think is important to consider here in terms of why people that are on the Poirier side are worried about Max in this, coming off of that Topuria win, we saw something similar in terms of why people were fading Volk as the favorite going into the Diego Lopez fight, where people were saying, oh, Holloway or Volk's chin is now compromised because he just got knocked out by this nuclear hitter in Topuria, having the compounding damage from the head kick knockout against Makhachev. We don't know how his chin's going to hold up.
Well, the drinking stuff too. I'm saying is there are other factors with that like Volk was drinking, and you remember that like that Volk was like depressed. I know, but I'm saying is to your point. I'm just throwing it in.
But I'm just drawing the parallel in terms of people talk themselves into betting Diego Lopez on the basis that they thought Volk's chin was more compromised than it perhaps actually was. Right. And then Volk went out there and won the title back again. I'm seeing a similar effect here because of the knockout that Topuria had on Holloway in his last fight, that people are now openly questioning the chin of this guy, who previously many people would have argued had the best chin in MMA history. I don't think one knockout to Topuria, as devastating as it was, disqualifies the previous damage tolerance that he had established.
But he's the favorite.
Right. In the same way that Volk was the favorite against Lopez. But if I'm looking at this in terms of knockout upside, I feel much more confident in Holloway getting a knockout here than I do in Poirier. Submission upside probably has to go to Poirier. Decision, it's going to be close, and obviously it's going to be in Louisiana.
Home cooking.
It could definitely come into play here, but you know what? I don't think it goes to decision, man. I think people have kind of forgotten how unbelievable Holloway is. Poirier is great.
Plus 195 fight doesn't go. I mean, do you like that better than inside?
Yeah.
Would you prefer playing that over Holloway?
I mean, that's a better number. So that gives you a nice little hedge in terms of if Poirier, does land a good shot and is able to knock out Max or maybe find the second sub in the trilogy between the two of them. But I mean, I can't parlay that. So I'm specifically looking at money line. If I was just picking one angle to bet, that's a much better number, and I would probably end up taking that because I think Max is going to knock Poirier out.
So
I
I've
think Poirier
already
is going to go out on his sword.
So I've already like looked like at MLS, which is American soccer, which is not a real sport because it's American and it's soccer, and this is not a real sport in America. But it's a thing I can bet on, right?
Right.
And I already looked, and so like I have San Diego FC, which is I hate all these names, dude. I tell my girlfriend like Kansas City, their team name is Sporting Kansas City. She's like,
Right.
she didn't give a fuck about soccer. She's like, she's like everything about that name. Like I hate them and I hope they die. And I'm like, babe, you know who's playing tonight? Sporting Kansas. And she's like, fuck
God.
you. Like I hate you. But like they have like a both teams to score. It's like minus 240. And I'm like, great. I'll parlay them with San Diego team total. And that gets me to like minus 180.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, give me a parlay. Like just to because I figure you're East Coast.
Yeah.
All right, I figure like this is like my like give me like the one bet that ends on the East Coast. And I'm like, all right, like I'll parlay it with something like Ige or whatever. Just give me like some bullshit. But anyway, we're wrapping it up. I think everybody left chat, but
super late. I get it.
George, stick on with me for like 10 minutes after we cut this. Thank you so much for breaking these fights. If you guys are still following, I know Aussie is. Shady already followed you, dude. Follow George. He's not just sharp. He's like, if you're watching this, you know that I'm crazy and I'm funny. That means you know George is funny, dude. He is a proponent like me of free shit. He hates this motherfucking shit. He does everything well, the right way. Go follow George, like, and you might follow him 1 week and be like, he loves chalk. He doesn't. He fucking hits not chalk, dude. George,
I do like love chalk, but I love plus money chalk even more.
Aussie is legit. Aussie's legit, dude. George, if you want to promote the people, go ahead. I have nothing to promote.
Just follow me at MMA Rax. I'll never ask for your money, and subscribe on Twitter.
Or
subscribe on YouTube. Yeah. And I'm hoping to, in a couple years, I'm just trying to build the biggest audience I can right now, and then I'm going to be, doing more written content after I've got, more people that I can, potentially be writing for. But again, even that's going to be free when the time comes. So I'm just taking it very slow and building it up the way that I can. But I'm, the knowledge is always going to be free. And I'm always very grateful for the opportunities like this to talk with other people that can appreciate the full context of the work that goes into capping this sport, like you, Lou. So it's been a lot of fun. And thank you to everybody in the chat. A lot of them have, in fact, followed me on Twitter. If you guys could subscribe to me on YouTube, that'd be great too. But that's about all I can ask from you guys. It's been fun. And Lou, thank you very much for having me. You said a lot of very kind things on my behalf tonight, and it's truly been a pleasure. So thanks.
I'm not. The one thing that people know is I'm not a fucking liar. So, like, I say it because it's true. That's why I'm a bad salesman. I can only sell things that I believe in, and I believe in George. So, guys, take care. Follow George. I'll repost this, and bye.
Take care.
Stick on, George. Hold on.